Hello, everybody, and welcome to We Grow Wednesday. It is January 15th already, 2025. If you are catching the replay, make sure to check out the show and leave a comment. Let me know what you think. We'll be right back in about 4 minutes and 20 seconds to do some liking and sharing. We're going to play a little intro. Enjoy the song. You'll hear what the show is all about. And we'll be right back. Let's go.
The indoor farmer has a tale to tell. Under the glow of LED lights where his stories dwell. He's not just growing greens, he's sowing seeds of thought. In a studio with a microphone where wisdom's bought. We grow Wednesday from 8 to 9. Tune in, folks, for our communal time. With Waylon, we'll learn to grow in life, in love, and in what we sow. He's a man of the soil and a man of the word, a veteran with a vision, his voice undeterred. From cannabis tales to the latest farm tech, his shows where the nerds and the farmers intersect. He lights up the airwaves with truth and care, sharing joys, the highs, and yes, the wear and tear. On We Grow Wednesday, we're all one big team. Growing together is the ultimate dream. We Grow Wednesday from 8 to 9. Tune in, folks, for a communal time. We'll live and we'll learn to grow in life, in love, and in what we sow. He's a man of the soil and a man of the word, a veteran with a vision, his voice undeterred. From cannabis tales to the latest farm tech, his shows where the nerds and the farmers intersect. He lights up the airwaves with truth and care, sharing joys, the highs, and yes, the wear and tear. On We Grow Wednesday, we're all one big team. Growing together is the ultimate dream. We Grow Wednesday from 8 to 9. Join Waylon for our journey so fine. Learning, laughing, and sometimes sad, but always together from the good to the bad. He speaks of the benefits, the pros and the cons of the plant that has helped him feel less withdrawn. With guests from all walks, stories to share, Waylon makes sure that no one feels like they're there alone. So come every Wednesday, find your place in his light, where Waylon, the indoor farmer, invites you to grow not just plants, but your soul, your mind, in a world where together we're truly aligned. Tune in and grow with us, let's expand our view on We Grow Wednesday with Waylon. It's true.
Waylon, the indoor farmer, has a tale to tell. Under the glow of LED lights where his stories dwell. He's not just growing greens, he's sowing seeds of thought. In a studio with a microphone where wisdom's taught. We Grow Wednesday from 8 to 9. Tune in, folks, for a communal time with Waylon. We'll learn to grow in life, in love, and in what we sow. He's a man of the soil and a man of the word, a veteran with a vision, his voice undeterred. From cannabis tales to the latest farm tech, his shows where the nerds and the farmers intersect. He lights up the airwaves with truth and care, sharing joys, the highs, and yes, the wear and tear. On We Grow Wednesday, we're all one big team. Growing together is the ultimate dream. We Grow Wednesday from 8 to 9. Tune in, folks, for a communal time with Waylon. We'll learn to grow in life, in love, and in what we sow. He's a man of the soil and a man of the word, a veteran with a vision, his voice undeterred. From cannabis tales to the latest farm tech, his shows where the nerds and the farmers intersect. He lights up the airwaves with truth and care, sharing joys, the highs, and yes, the wear and tear. We Grow Wednesday, on one big team, growing together.
Waylon, the indoor
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wednesday night, guys. We Grow Wednesday. Every Wednesday, 8 o'clock Central Time is when we do this. We try to get through the middle of the week with some learning and some growing and some knowledge, not just the plants, but ourselves, right? And by extension, we get to the plants later, right? But tonight's show is going to be a good one. We got a wonderful guest coming in tonight that I've been hoping to get on. So we're going to be talking to her for a little while about some awesome topics. You guys always love when we get into cannabis specifically. So tonight we're going to talk about cannabis and get into it. You know, I don't always love to just dwell on the cannabis, but tonight I wore my Up and Smoke University shirt, so we're going to be, getting into the knowledge, but if you could help us out, hit that like button and share us out with some friends. Maybe tag a few new friends in the house. And I want to show a very warm welcome to our guest tonight. But before we get into that, I want to throw a couple of housekeeping things out here. I made some changes to the subscription, the way that the Indoor Farmer coupons work. So I explained it a couple times last night. We'll get into that later. Tonight, we're going to do a spin for subscribers for the number wheel. So if you haven't gotten over to wherever you're subscribed at, Facebook or locals, and gotten in on that post that I put up there that explains everything right there, has the date and such. So if you get in on that post, you'll be getting a number tonight during the show a little bit later on. But then let's see, I think that was the last thing. There was something else, but I'll get into it when we get into it, right? So we're gonna actually get into it right now. Let's find out who tonight's guest is. We've got Tala, who is whether she likes it or not, it's the term influencer and content creator and all around just real person over there on what we call the internet and usually on X. And we got her right here in the house. What is up, Tala? How are you tonight?
Well, I like the idea of being influential as long as it's a good influence.
It's really funny how that works. Just real fast, like every person influences other people if you come in contact with other people. Like it just happens whether you like it or not. So it's a funny term anyway.
Yeah.
If you could, we're gonna nice and easy here. Find out who you are. Let the people know. We've got about 40 people in the house right now. We want to find out who Tala is. If you aren't following her on X, I know I have a handful of my followers from Facebook who go over to X. I see Jess over there right now. Definitely you'll want to follow Tala for the motivation, the inspiration, and all around real good content, like original and real, not just regurgitated stuff, right? So now I'm going to let you talk, but I do have 1 minute until the 7:10 on Mountain Time. So you don't have to do this yourself, but we do a little tradition. We're going to do a little dab with the audience in about 1 minute. But I want to hear you go though. Who are you? Like, where are you? Where are you in France? Like, who are you, Tala? What's up?
My name is Tala Smith. I live in Southern California, born and raised. I'm in the Inland Empire in San Bernardino. I grew up in the LA County Strip. I have a small family, pretty basic, middle class. Yeah, nothing spectacular. But in my family, I notoriously always had the health problems. So the older I got, the worse it got. And I am told that I don't look it, but I'm 57. I'll be 58 this year. Holy cow. So in my 30s and 40s, I was developing very obvious, what's now obvious to me, symptoms. I have autoimmune disease. I have neurological disease, and that's on top of a lot of injuries. So I live with chronic pain. I have actually had chronic pain since I was a child. I did not know it then, but I'm also a fibromyalgia patient. I didn't get any
Oh,
diagnoses until I was older. Yeah. So a lot of injuries, issues with my back, dysautonomia. I'm also a dysautonomia patient. It's a pretty long list. I get migraines. It's like it would almost take less time to tell you what's not wrong with me.
wow.
So,
And it's not like those don't play on each other, right? Like,
yeah. And as a result of the autoimmune disease, I'm also a heart patient. But a big part of what I do is proving my doctors wrong. Some of them really don't like to see me coming into the office. But I have a very good primary care physician now who's really on board with all of my hard work. I try to stay as natural as possible, which is how I ended up using
That's not your
medical
doctor, is it?
cannabis.
This isn't your doctor here? Just
Hi,
kidding.
Christina. No, I'm glad she's here.
Yes.
She's a good friend. So I kind of, at 15, decided my doctors are not helping me. I need to know more. I need to do more. So I started studying nutrition and natural medicine on my own. What that means at this point is I have over 4 decades of study and experience. I don't have any
Research.
special certifications other than my medical terminology, which I was top of my class. So I
That's
kind of
awesome.
want to get some nutritional certifications at some point, but it's all experiential. And I do a lot of research on my own. So I started out doing awareness work, got into being an advocate. So, awareness advocate is one of the titles I carry. And then last year, I moved into actually motivational speaking. I have about 35 years of public speaking experience.
Oh,
But
I didn't know that.
yeah, I know most people on X don't realize that I actually have quite a background. But the motivational speaking is kind of a new branch of what I've been doing. And I just kind of naturally moved into that, to be honest. Um, I think that it's beneficial because there are a lot of people who, well, first of all, people don't really understand what that means. And they think that, you're supposed to pump
Right.
people up, and that's not it, really. I teach something that is sustainable. So it's about taking back your quality of life and being able to maintain that. And for me, that means I always have to make sure that I'm okay first so that I have something to share with other people. And having gone through some pretty severe disability, it's been a long road. In 2006, I couldn't walk or even stand up most of the year.
Wow.
When I look at, I summited Half Dome in Yosemite at the end of 2019 at age 52. When I look at that, my starting point was a wheelchair. It's not just the ordinary outdoorswoman hiker, hey, I think
Right.
I'll go hike that. I trained for 6 years to do that. It's slow for me. I have systemic lupus. It's difficult. It's painful. But what cannabis has done for me is the reason that I wanted to be able to come on here and talk with you, because I think a lot of people shy away from this.
Mhm.
The way I was raised, I wouldn't touch anything. I never
Right.
used recreational drugs. I wouldn't, there's no way, and there was a time frame in my life where I was drinking too much. I will admit to that. I don't seem to have any particular addictive personality, whatever that
Sure.
is. Because when I decided, you know what, this is too much, I went and I stopped. This is what I do. So the hardest thing for me was ditching the opioid meds. And the only reason that finally happened is I have a mentor who was like, well, why don't you just stop taking it? I was like, well, I don't take it every day, but um, then what? You know, and he was the one who kind of encouraged me to explore using medical cannabis again. And I was like, I don't know, just like the stuff I had before wasn't great. It just made me sleep all the time. And that's
Right.
when I started learning that there's certain types that don't agree with me and some that do. Yeah. So this has been a very long developing story for me. Um, to get to the point where I could finally go, yeah, I'm done with that. I haven't taken opioid meds in over 2 years. I no longer take aspirin or acetaminophen either. On the rare occasion, I might need it for a migraine, but yeah, that's all gone. And I stopped decongestant meds as well because I had been on those for about 2 years after a round of COVID. So I'm down to my heart medication and hydroxychloroquine every evening to keep my immune system from going out of control, and my medical cannabis, and that's it. That's spectacular for a lupus patient. Yeah.
That's a flex that's not done often enough, is saying I'm this many years free of opioids. Like no one says, hey,
Yes.
I got off of the prescription medications, or even, okay, well, I guess those are two different things, right? You have, street drugs that are opioids, but you could say, hey, I've been prescription medication free for this many years. And you don't see that, people I see that will say I've been alcohol free this many years today. And people, show a lot of support for that. Oh, that's awesome. Good for you. But no
Hmm.
one really, talks about the pharmaceutical side like that, which is kind of
Yeah.
a
And I'm
interesting.
2 years free of back pain, and partly as a result of that. As it turns out, those non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs can actually make back pain worse. And if you're taking, um, I guess technically acetaminophen isn't in that category, but I think that it causes the same issues. If you're
Mhm.
taking an opioid like, well, I wasn't using Vicodin at that point; it was the other one, but they're all the same thing.
Nar-
But if you're
uh,
taking that, we'll say that again.
I was trying to think of not it's something with an
Norco.
N. Norco, yeah. I was gonna say
Norco,
narco,
yeah.
but that doesn't sound.
But it's the yeah, but it's the generic, so it's all the same thing. But Norco formulation was what I was using when I needed it. But that has acetaminophen in it. And you know what that does to your liver? And I have a history of some problems with my liver.
Well, tell
So
us
it's not
what's the specific. I don't know
sustainable.
what's the
Uh,
specific problem with the liver. What happens? Do you know?
it's very hard on the process. It gets processed through your liver.
Right.
So you're putting a strain on your internal organs, especially if you're taking it a lot, taking it for a long time.
Sure.
So, and I'm glad that I'm off of that, because I did have one bobble in my recent labs that my liver, it didn't look quite right. I'm like, okay, I think this is really just because my activity level went down and my weight went back up a little bit. I can fix that. But I'm not putting these medications in my body now, so
Right.
that extra strain isn't there. Yeah, I can
And
recover
eliminate
quicker.
that out of the problems, yeah, because no matter almost whatever medicine is going to have side effects. I mean, even a lot of foods have side effects for us, right?
Oh God,
I don't
yeah.
see a big difference between foods and medicines. The only difference really is if you have a medicine that's topical or injected, like that's different than food. But almost
And
every
even
other
some of
medicine,
those, you
yeah,
know?
it's in your system. Yeah, it's still going to
Yeah,
it's going to get processed, right?
yeah.
Um, we've even found that a lot of things that we're finding like artificial solutions for are not nearly, or let me say, have more problems than what we initially thought. Like say, artificial insulin, or things that we're putting in our body that, or like testosterone treatments that people are using, things like that.
Thyroid meds.
Yes, that we're like, oh, hey, it's a quick fix, it's a temporary thing, but then we're finding out long term, like it really was food and diet, like
Yeah.
that really makes the difference.
I
Um,
am the only woman in
hey,
my
on that,
family to get to my age and not be on a thyroid medication. My grandmother, my mom, everybody else. But I am not on thyroid medication. Uncommon, like I said, I'm 57. Really, in overall in society, it's uncommon to be able to say that. My thyroid on my labs is perfect.
yeah, it's one thing you can check off. Like at least I don't have that problem. Like I'm adding things to my list. I was actually we're gonna talk at some point about your speed bag work, because
Yeah,
I'm having I'm actually seeing a physical therapist for my shoulder right now. It's
that
not
would
good.
help
I'm like,
you.
right. I'm worried that things are just going to continue to get bad. So yeah, things like that. Because the
Yep.
speed bag, there's not a lot of impact, but you are really getting those muscles like to do what they're
Yes.
supposed to do versus pulling on things the wrong way or whatever that
Yep.
is. Yeah.
It
So
resolved. I had muscle spasms in my middle back for a long time, even after the low back pain stopped. And speed bag is actually what resolved that. I'm not getting those spasms anymore. Oh,
interesting. I think I heard you talk about that before. I wonder if it's something to do with using the muscle. Um, like repeatedly in the
Yeah,
correct way, like makes it.
I mean, first of all, you're learning to hold your hands up like this all the time, right? So this is a workout, a lot more than people realize, to just
Oh
hold
yeah.
your arms up like that. And of course, that'll trigger a spasm if there's a problem. So I was really struggling at first. But what it teaches the muscles to engage when you need them and then release when you don't, because you're throwing a strike and bringing it down. It's
Hmm.
a circular motion. So that constant movement like that, it actually is very good for the shoulder health. Um, Done incorrectly, you can cause some damage. Alan Kahn, the author of the Speed Bag Bible, has actually had, I think, 7 shoulder surgeries. But he's old school. He tends to bring his elbows up really high, and that's
Uh-huh.
really not what you want to do. They need to be relaxed. It's
Hmm.
just his style, you know. But
Because
it
it's
does
almost like
a
you're
lot for the
punching
muscles.
downward a little more versus straight.
Um,
Yeah, maybe that's the
yeah,
difference. I don't know.
it's just that it's a strained position. So like if you were what's the exercise? Upright rows. So
Okay.
if you have a weighted bar and you're doing an upright
Hmm.
row like this, doing them with a dumbbell is a bad idea, because most people, what they'll do is they'll bring the shoulder up too high and they're pinching things. So with
Hmm.
a weighted bar, you're in a very fixed position to bring it up exactly where it needs to be and not bring it up too high. It's a
You can't.
similar
Huh,
issue.
makes sense.
Yeah.
I like that. I actually, I've known a few people now that have the fibromyalgia, and I know that can be like trying to find a needle in a moving haystack, you know. So,
Hard to
um,
diagnose.
right.
Yeah.
So definitely, I feel that one, but I'm gonna have I probably have it now. I feel it in some of my joints, arthritis, you know, carpal tunnel, all those things. Now with cannabis is so versatile that almost everything we've talked about it can be used for. But you hit something earlier, which was knowing that there are different strains and or not just strains, but isolation, what do you call isolates, I guess, from the plant that are different chemicals or different
Yeah.
molecule makeups that can help you in all sorts of different ways. And that's not even to say on the textile side of things. So mentioned this to you before, but I don't know if you um, I'm not. We'll see what your opinion is on this, but to me, I see two different sectors here. I see the side of the advocation for a plant that we've found that's very versatile, that can do all sorts of things within us and for us, and then the other side of things, which I think gets lumped together when we talk about the stigma behind cannabis. And I've talked about it plenty of times, but I see people on X, some of the sometimes bigger accounts that have stepped away from it, and I wouldn't say trash talk it, but they maybe some of that is convincing themselves like they're doing the right thing, kind of like a vegan would like trash talk someone who eats meat. It kind of feels like that. They're like, well, I stepped away from that, so let me, and it kind of frustrates me because I get it. It's probably going to be very difficult for someone who doesn't use it anymore, even though they used to be around someone that does, even through the internet. I can see that being difficult, but just say that, that's all I'm saying. But do you see what I mean? Two different sides. You have the culture side, which is kind of the extension of the 1960s hippie movement that we all like to think of. But cannabis was alive and well way before there was flower power and tie dye and all of that stuff. It was around for thousands of years, probably longer than us. And so that's what I like to isolate between the things. Like there's this growing culture now of cannabis that's not necessarily tied to the look of it, but to just the use of it, right?
Yeah.
How about you? Do you have a bunch of tie dyes in the closet with like, different, I don't know,
Never
like,
got into that. And
you know what I mean?
it's funny
Yeah.
because, like I said, I mean, I grew up in a family that did not use anything like that, right? And my parents were not heavy drinkers either. So for me, it was, I was very much opposed. This is the thing, I started out very much opposed.
Hmm.
And it was because the only examples I saw were bad ones, you know, people who were just abusive with it. And I realized that opinions may vary about what abuse is, and I accept that.
Mm.
But these were people who were completely irresponsible. Now, if your whole life is falling apart, I'm going to start looking for what the commonality is. And when I started working Renaissance Fair, because I worked the large fair here in Southern California, the original one for on and off for about 25 years. Um, People don't realize how much use of everything goes on out there. But we expect you to keep your crap together. You know, we expect you to be a responsible person, be able to handle whatever it is you're doing.
What?
So if we had if we had a wild party, you know, after hours, you still were expected to show up the next morning and work, you know.
Right.
So if you
Work
were
hard, play
so
hard.
obliterated that you couldn't, then you're using too much. Um,
Same goes for anything, you know, alcohol in the
exactly.
military. If
And
you
it
went
was
into
mostly
the
alcohol. That's the thing. It was mostly
yeah.
alcohol.
or in the combination of the two, then you're maybe a little comatose for a day or so if you're putting them together,
Yes.
like, you know.
Yeah.
So when I was in the military, if you came in the next that morning and somebody was so hungover that they were still drunk and they were in the corner like ready to throw up, oh, that's okay, no problem. Hey, that's just Tala. Don't worry about it. She's just not feeling real well today. Just leave her alone for now. She doesn't have to do whatever it is we're doing. And then like they were all cool with it, you know. And then God forbid you do something a little different. Anyway,
Yeah. Well, for me, it would, you know, because I never touched any of it. Then all of a sudden, I'm in this culture, this group of people who it's perfectly normal and everybody's using it. And they'd start passing it around and expect to hand it to me. And I'm like, I'm good. And they're like, well, just pass it to the next person. And they would get mad at me because I didn't want to pass it to the next person. You know, and for me, it's an interesting thing to look back at because what I think a lot of people miss is that on both sides, you have to be respectful of the other person's
right,
standards and desires. So if I wanted nothing to do with it, you shouldn't expect to hand a pipe to me and say, here, touch this and hand it to someone else. I didn't want to. Just say, oh, sorry, and reach across. We
right.
both
I
have to
mean,
respect each other.
you
Yeah.
have to we have to leave room for all of the different ways that someone can interact with whatever. Like if it's your passion, I'm an advocate for cannabis. Well, if that's your thing, you have to leave room for the people that absolutely don't want to be near it.
Yeah.
You have to know that's part of it. You know, that's in there. That's why I talk about food. It's like every one of us has to eat. Not every
Yeah.
one of us needs cannabis. Now,
Exactly.
now we can argue that the textile side of things, clothing and paper and all that stuff, yes, maybe we could all benefit from that. But yes, not everybody needs every substance. And I think cannabis is one of those things. Now, could a lot more people benefit from it? I fully believe that, but I'm not going to push it on anyone.
Yeah.
But we
And the
work
far
with,
other side of it from me, like having found that it was beneficial for me once I got the right products.
right,
The other side of it is my brother is very much opposed, but see, his experience has been a lot like mine was in the past. You know, he was walking on the beach. I want to say it was in Venice, figures to be there, with his daughter, who at the time was a minor. And even though it had been, would it be that long ago? Maybe she wasn't a minor, but at any rate, he's there with his daughter. And even though it's legalized, you're not supposed to smoke it out in public.
right,
But people immediately started doing that. And so he had people that would come out of shops and try to sell their products, say, come into the shop. Well, they're not supposed to do that either. And here he is just trying to walk with his daughter. And it's like,
mm,
dude, get away from me. So it creates a negative experience for someone who doesn't want anything to do with it. You don't need
yeah,
to go chase people down. You have customers. People will come in, you know? And I
yeah,
think that was the biggest thing for
totally,
me was that it was always like people trying to push it on me. And I might have been more open to using it for my needs sooner if I had not had that negative reinforcement. So to me, respect is the biggest issue. Yeah.
It totally is, and I try to get that across sometimes to people that it seems like that's their entire existence, and they say, I don't care, this is how I am. Well, if you're trying to help to normalize it, then you have to realize that there are different, I guess, different angles you can take, and one of the problems is there are a lot of people that are not working that also happen to use cannabis, and so then you see a lot of that through the internet. Like myself, I mean, I don't have a regular job. I do work, but look, I'm a disabled veteran, so there's like almost I would say that is the majority of people that you see throughout the day that are passing through live streams and other things that can be done throughout the day. And so you have this sort of culture online that crosses, that overlaps. Like I would say, oh man, I don't want to say a majority, but like a whole lot of my viewers are people that have some kind of chronic illness and are using cannabis for whatever reason that might be. Speaking of, we got Brian Williams in the house. What's up, Brian? Brian he blows glass, and he blew this for me live on my show, People in the Boxes, a few months ago, and I always like to pull this out when I see him. He does amazing work, but he's got chronic back problems that are really really, like, I can't even describe how bad they are. But
Yeah.
that is a stigma that we also have to overcome, is that, oh, the lazy stoner. Well, a lot of
That's what
times
I was
people
thinking
come,
about.
right,
Stigma.
exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of times people come to cannabis after having some kind of a medical problem or an injury or whatever, and that's what's happening now. So there's this overlap in style between the person that probably smoked since they were 14 and they're still doing it 15 years later, and the person that just came to this, for me, for example, I didn't use until I was over 18. So I actually thought, even though that seems a little young for the law, it's still old for most people that get into it as a kid. Like, they're like, oh, what, it's been 4 years or whatever. And so I thought I was kind of older, so I could come about it with a more mature outlook. And I'll be honest, it was a recreational thing, and it did make me tired. It made me less productive and things like that. The whole stigma. But now that I use it for my anxiety and other things, I'm not really that productive without it, which is it's like a flip flop. You know what I mean? So we have to battle that, and I always bring up alcohol just because they get compared. I hate the comparison, because you're not building a house with alcohol, but
Yeah.
there's a difference. But there is a comparison too in the recreational side, and there is a range in alcohol. I always like to use the red carpet party with the brandy or the champagne or whatever, the big event, uh, versus the wino that's in the alleyway drinking like brute cologne or something just to get a buzz. And it's like there is that same range within
Yeah.
within cannabis and within other things. So that's what it's
I'm
about.
trying to remember what year it was that we legalized it in California for recreational. Um, but I didn't. It's been a few years now, I guess. Yeah, but I didn't run to a dispensary immediately. I think I only got set up with the dispensary I go
Sorry,
to.
Lisa.
Maybe it's been at least a year. I want to say yeah, that's right, because I've been off the opioids for a couple of years, and that was one of the reasons I was able to do that. So a couple of years, I guess. But I had some product from somebody for several years before that I would use a little bit, but like I said, it was so sedating that it was like I am a lightweight to begin with, so what do you just a little bit at bedtime, and it would knock me out. So that was the desperation move of I'm in so much pain I can't sleep,
Right,
but I
just
needed to be
knock
able to
me out.
function. Yeah. you can't do that during the day, you know, you lose your whole day. So when they finally legalized recreational here, it opened a big door for me because, and I advocated for that. And a lot of people in the community who were very stuck on the idea of medical use only, which I used to be stuck on that idea myself. Um, I don't use recreationally, but I have no problem with whatever someone else does. Again, it's that respect. Um, I didn't want to be part of the system. I didn't want to have a card. I didn't
Hmm.
want to have to hunt down a doctor and pay that money and that whole mess. So I waited.
Yeah.
And it's a pain because, like, here, I don't know how it is other places, but I see that sign every time I go in there. If I had a medical card, I would be paying less. I'm getting
Hmm.
taxed into oblivion every time I walk in there.
And you're still going in there now. Like, you're still on the camera. You're still,
Yep, you're in the system, but it's their system, you know.
are you thinking
And
about getting the card?
no,
Still not, huh?
I
What's
just
the
don't
difference?
know.
What do you think the
I just because I don't. I think a lot of it is just on principle.
do you think
Just
they
like,
would link it to mental health or mental instability in some
well,
way?
that's a possibility. You know, I have to question a lot of things when it comes to rights. You know, I'm very pro 2A. You know, I'm a conservative.
Sure.
So, yeah, that, you know, and I'm a libertarian. So I want the
Right.
government to stay out of my business. So
I
I
always
can't
I always
support this
said
whole thing of
conservative
getting a card.
libertarian. Yeah, like
Yeah,
because you want us to pay our bills, but yet maybe like leave everybody alone kind of thing. That's kind of
yeah,
the
exactly.
combination there.
So
Exactly.
it's like
Yeah.
if you're in a state where, let me say it this way, if you're in a state where you have to have a card to get it, then I understand. Or if the cost is so exorbitant not having a card that it benefits you, then yeah, I totally get it. But for me, it's like I just drew a line and I went, no, screw you, I'll pay more. You
Right.
know,
Yeah, I
I
get
just
that. You get put into
yeah,
another list that way. Yeah. Now, I
yeah.
actually was told by my VA, what do you call them, liaison, that that I could still get my FOID card, and I was like, I don't know, I'm not sure, and I'm sure that's different for each state, of course.
Yeah.
So I'm not 100% sure on that to this day, but I have been told kind of both directions. I've heard people say they can't, and some people say they can. So it is a step that you kind of have to
I
decide.
feel like it raises a flag.
The reason
And
that I did is because I can grow now. Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, 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 and I understand that. Like, but here I don't I don't think I need a card to do that. Yes, like it's only a certain number of plants or something, but
Right.
I think because it's recreationally legal here,
Huh,
I need that.
that's
I'd
cool.
have to research it. But I mean, I don't know enough about that. So,
That's fine.
well, the thing is this, the more flags raised, that's a concern because I think you know what my other half does for a living. So I don't want to raise a bunch of
I
flags.
don't, but we do not need to talk about it.
Yeah. Because he can't use it. Okay.
Right.
So, you know,
You know,
that's just me.
with that, my VA rep said, I asked him, I said something about along the lines of, well, you can't use it, even though it's legal because works for the government. He said, why can't I? He acted like, yeah, I can. Sure, I can. Like, what?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he was just full of shit. But yeah,
Who knows?
yeah.
You
So
know,
you
and
definitely,
laws are not like the laws are changing all
right.
the time, you know. Hopefully only in a progressive direction. I have my concerns about what could be rolled back, you know. That'd be a big problem for me to not be able to just, you know, I mean, it's stupid because you gotta understand how little, this is what's funny, where did I put that, because I held it up earlier. I use so little. Okay, like here's one. This stuff, this takes me forever to even use this stuff up because this knocks me flat. And the guy that recommended it when they didn't have my Kana gummies was like,
Mhm.
"Oh, this is similar."
So you
I
take that
have
at nighttime
I
after
have a
nighttime.
video. I have a video that I sent to my buddy Kyle, and I was all, you know, because I was trying to figure out. I was going to go visit my mom, and what can I take with me so I can sleep? And I tried that here before I went there, and I was like, I had my cap pulled down to about here. I'm all, I believe I will stick with the other brand. I was like, I can't function. Like, so I can't do that for anything where I've got to be up and around, definitely. But even if it's nighttime, if I got to get up in the middle of the night, I don't want to be walking into the wall, you know?
Right.
I'm
That's
very
true.
sensitive to stuff. Apparently, that could be related to the way that my body methylates substances, which is common if you are on the autistic spectrum, which apparently I am. So I don't, if it's sedating, I don't process it the right way. Medications that are sedating will do that to me as well. So I have to be very careful.
Yeah, it sounds like you might be more susceptible to the sedation. I was going to ask you.
Indica is rough for
Right.
me. Indica
I'm not an
flattens it.
indica fan. Typically, I like sativa, but it's harder to get sativa that's just sativa nowadays, just because it takes longer for
Yeah,
some
the hybrids
plants.
will knock me out too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what is your? Do you have a? You said you found the right stuff. So, what is it? A certain strain or just a brand that you like that seems to be just enough?
This brand is mild enough that
Okay.
I can get away with.
Do you try
And this
different
one,
flavors and stuff like that?
oh yeah, this one is the
Okay.
fast acting. The only problem being that it doesn't have CBD. And for pain relief, I really like that ratio. So there's other ones from that brand that I use. The other one that I finally decided to try was Wild. This stuff is cool.
Hmm.
And this one, they do make one that has both THC and CBD in it. And those are kind of cute because they're easy to open.
Yeah, that's kind of
You guys
cool. Yeah,
try to open these bags with arthritic hands? What the? I don't
some
know
of
if
them get, yeah. And then if the plastic rips, that's like the rips off just above the zipper part that you're
your
just like you
gummies
can't
dry
even.
out.
Yeah, I have that. Like one of my, I think I got a pack of cheese or something that's doing that upstairs in the fridge. I'm like, I can barely get this open.
I mean, for anybody who's never, most your viewers are all familiar, but it took me forever to master this. Press and then pull, but you got to let go.
Never
And I
seen
mean,
this. That's
I'm at
crazy.
home going, how do I open?
I could see that.
Flashback
Some of these are
to
crazy.
childproof caps.
They put more money into these containers, like than like hell. It's like a Rubik's cube trying to get them
They
open.
do.
Jeez.
And then you got to be strong enough to peel this back. The glue is,
Oh yeah,
it's insane.
that's
And
that's
not
an intense
only
package.
the crazy zipper that we were talking about, which you have to be able to get your
Yeah.
thumbnail against.
Hmm.
But then to walk out of the shop, then they put it in another bag with another one of those zippers.
Zippers, yeah. Gotta
Now
have
they
it
do me a kindness
sealed.
sometimes, and they're like, they will pop it open a little bit. I'm like, thank you.
I mean, I guess it's better safe than sorry, but that's a little overkill. So
It's
let me ask you
California.
this: have you tried the other things that are not psychoactive? For example, just CBD would be the obvious one, or there's CBG, which is actually very good for pain, and then there's CBN, which is just for sleepy time. So I know
Right.
there's a whole bunch
So
more now, but those are the big ones.
I started off using CBD oil that I was getting that's Charlotte's Web. And I did really well with that, but it wasn't enough by itself. And then for a while, 99-cent Store even had these on the shelf, which is it's social CBD. It's just a little kitschy product. But it does have cannabidiol, it has GABA, it has other stuff. So I've used a bunch of different ones, and some are better than others. But it really, it's that ratio. It can't be just CBD. That will reduce a lot of inflammation. But if I'm in pain, it doesn't stop pain. It doesn't interrupt that signal.
The
Yeah.
numbness, for lack of a better term, I think it's the
Yeah.
numbness that, like, for instance,
Well,
I
just
don't.
taking the edge off,
Right.
because I don't like
Yeah.
to flatten myself, obviously. I
Hmm.
just need to take the edge off so that I'm not feeling like screaming, you know. So my pain level's a lot lower than it used to be. Things have improved quite a bit, but this is part of why. Because
Right.
when you're in that constant pain, you know how your body just gets in this mode of you can never dial it down. So you've got to be able to interrupt it. That's part of the benefit of sleep.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I've used some of them, but yeah, it's got to be both, really.
Do you find that you dream less?
I have no idea. I don't remember dreams. I haven't remembered dreams in many years. I don't know
Yeah.
what that is.
Cannabis gets a bad rap for that, and I'll give it to them that
But long
maybe.
before I started using it, to say it
Right,
that way.
right. Yeah, that's I should have clarified that. I figured
Yeah.
that's true, but the thing that people say is that it's supposedly doesn't allow you to get into REM sleep. And okay,
Fitbit.
sounds important, right? I get that,
According to
but
my Fitbit, I do.
see, okay, you do you also said you're kind of a lightweight, so maybe that's the difference. But I dream. I don't dream that often, but a lot of times when I dream, I can't remember it. I know that I dreamt. I knew there was something. I kind of lose it the next morning, and that's normal, right? But I had a dream the other day about this. I have this reoccurring dream about driving up a really steep bridge. Like you're going over something, a canyon or river or something, but you're going up so steeply that car feels like it's about to about to come off of the road. Yeah, and this time I actually did a loop to loop in the
Sounds
car.
terrifying.
I fully did a loop to loop, and it wasn't it wasn't like wee. It was like,
No.
oh, I hope I stay, and it worked. It was like, wow, I can't believe I really pulled that off. Like, geez.
Oh,
So I
you
know
asked
that it
about
works.
CBG as well.
Yeah. Hmm.
I've tried a couple of products that have that because I know that it helps with nausea, which is actually an issue with lupus. It's quite common. Most lupus patients have on hand a prescription for Zofran because you just get nausea for no apparent reason. It just happens. Um, I've had less problem with that since I started using medical
Great for
cannabis.
that. Yeah.
Yes, it really is. So I had tried one that had that, but it's unfortunately for some reason it's with hybrids, and hybrids are a little more sedating. We're back to that problem. So I got one recently because my tender there said, this also helps with nerve pain. And I went, give me that. Because I have been dealing with so much nerve pain over the last year. Oh my God. It's part of the problem with this heel and ankle.
Mm.
So
Have you
I said,
tried
well,
a
let me try that.
topical? Have you
Huh?
tried any topical
Yes,
creams or
in
lotions?
fact, let me see if I can find it here while we're talking. Um, I swear I'm so disorganized. I have been so busy that I have not.
You had a lot of products right there. I didn't expect you to, to be able to go, yeah, I've used
Well, you
this,
know
I've
what?
tried
Because
this, here it is.
I'm always sitting here. That's why. All my
Uh,
vitamins are here.
that's all right. You guys, I actually have a couple sponsors that sell different pain creams and stuff like that, and I can get some discounts on that stuff too. So if you guys are out there listening and you're looking for good products from good people, come and check me out. I'll hit you up. I'll send you to some good people. We got like 3 or 4 that actually you can buy pain creams from. So
Well,
they're out there.
I'm not sure where it is, but the brand is Green Roads, and it
Green
is a
Road.
CBD topical, but it has a small amount of THC, I think. And the reason, I don't know if it does or not. I think it does, but anyway, it is
Maybe
CBD
Delta
free.
9. A lot of times, because when it's a topical, it becomes a little different than
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, they were able to ship it to me, but it's possible that's allowed now because it is recreationally legal here. So I just know they were able to ship it to me. But Green Roads I got because my mentor uses it, and he was like, I said, I've tried topical stuff before. He goes, no, this one. He sent me a picture. I'm all, okay. And it's not cheap, but it's worth every penny. So, and that's just a little roll-on container, and I only need it for like I've got tendonitis in this shoulder and essentially tendonitis in that heel and ankle. I had some pretty severe flares of plantar fasciitis,
Hmm.
so it's helped me recover from that. It's very effective.
Yeah, my feet have been hurting me lately, and I'm like, man, what's happening? Am I growing some bunions? What's going on? I'm getting older, bunions happening
Mhm.
soon. I don't know what's happening there, but I've been on my feet a lot. I play. I've been messing around with a VR headset. And to your point earlier about like just having your hands up like this with no weights for a while, that can be a lot. And so like I'm over here, my hands like you're really not paying attention, but after a while you're playing,
Yep.
with your hands next to your body, and it's like, whoa,
And
my
everything we do, phone, computer, driving, it's all this hunched forward position. And posture is a big issue. I've had to learn to bring my shoulders back. Yeah.
I'm doing that now. Yeah, I have these bands
With,
for you know
yeah, with your
physical
feet,
therapy.
it's possible that you could have an element of plantar fasciitis creeping in there. In which case, I can tell you, we'll talk at another time about that, but I can tell you some very easy physical therapy exercises to get that under control because you don't want that getting out of control. Trust me.
I
I
also
had a
have like some
2 year
numbing
limp.
happening. It's been my whole life though, for many years now, at
Yep.
least that I have like circulation problems. Like my arms can go numb if I'm like sleeping the wrong in certain ways. My feet, my
That's a
legs go
pinch.
numb a lot. Say
Yeah.
again? Yeah,
That's a pinch in here, and there's actually some PT exercises for that too. Yeah.
I need lots of
I can look
exercise. That's for sure. So what do you? Speaking of exercise, what do you do these days? Are you still doing the bag? Are you still?
Oh yeah. In
Yeah.
fact, it is right there.
Oh wow.
That's my newest
Holy
one.
cow.
This is a Jim Bradley. My favorite one. Where
She
did it
says
end
as
up?
if I know this famous brand.
Jim Bradley is a very
I bet
lightweight
it's a
bag.
big
It's a
one.
very special bag. That's brand new. I waited a while to get that. But the one that's usually hanging up here with the phoenix on it is made by Roni in Bulgaria.
I'm gonna
And
pull my frisbee golf disc out. This is signed by I don't even know any. I don't even know any big names, but it's like this is a. I like frisbee
well,
golf.
most
That's
people
a
see
workout.
Everlast. You see
Yeah,
that very commonly, but I'm not a fan of Everlast bags or Tidal. You see that a lot in gyms where people are, boxers and training and stuff. But what
good
I
for
do
you.
is freestyle. Yeah.
Don't go straight after the whatever the main brand is, right?
Well, yeah, it's an expensive hobby, but it's because it's done so much for me physically, it's a worthwhile investment. And I'm building a home gym, so that's part of it. We'll have multiple speed bag boards up when I'm done, and yeah.
I imagine the expensive part is that you keep blowing through the bags, like you're hitting it so hard,
No.
fit right through the inside
So
of the bag.
far, I've only had to change the bladder out in one, and it was Cleaner Rhea's bag that I ordered at a discount, and so the bladder was already not holding air in it.
Hmm.
And so the second I got it and tried to air it up, I was contacting my buddy, going, "Help! Now I need to know how to do this." And at the time, I didn't have much grip strength. It's one of the first things that goes with lupus, and the pain
Mm.
made it worse. And I mean, I'm in there like in the middle of the night, feeling like a gorilla trying to rip this thing loose. So it's kind of a tedious process. This one, the new one, actually has. Let me turn it so you can see. This one has a zipper. How cool is that? It has a
Oh,
zipper at the top, so I don't have to unlace. And traditionally,
oh.
you got to unlace and try to get as much space as you can, and it's glued to the bottom. And so the port for airing it up is not on the bottom with that one. It's actually inside there on the top. It's a lot easier to manage. Changing the bladder out of that, easy.
I
Yeah.
forget there's air in those. You know,
Yep.
they're so like full and hard, like it's not air inside there. Yeah, at least
Yeah.
somebody
And
says
this one
use
only
it or lose it.
takes like two and a half, I think, is about the max, 2.5 pounds of pressure. But some of the other bags that I've got, I put them about 4.5. So there's a big difference depending on the maker. Yeah. But that is cardio, believe it or not.
Right.
That's cardio. So at my weight, I burn 600 calories an hour doing that.
Have you heard some of the recent trends that like cardio is not the like don't do too much cardio? It's like one of the things. You get what is it,
Yeah,
cortisol or something like that you produce?
you can overdo it. I mean, but you can overdo anything.
Right.
We know
Do you
this.
do any lift? Do you do any lifting, or can
Yeah.
you? Like, is it?
Oh yeah. In fact, see, like I said, everything is here. I've got, where is it? My weighted bar is over there somewhere. So I've got weighted bar. I've got a regular barbell. I've got a trap bar that I now have to get plates for. Um, that requires a different size plate, the Olympic size. So I've got dumbbells. I've got my resistance bands. I have a leg press that I purchased a couple of years ago. I got that off Facebook
Well,
Marketplace.
that's good. It feels good to do
I've got
leg presses.
power. Leg press is one of my favorite exercises. So the fact that I was able to score one affordably with 200 pounds of weights
Hmm.
for less than the weights were going for alone at that point, because prices were going up. And it's iron. I don't like the plastic ones.
Yeah, yeah,
I
they
buy
can
iron.
break. Yeah,
I buy it secondhand,
um,
you know.
yeah.
So
I
yeah,
just
I've
want
got
to
a
say,
little bit of everything. Yeah.
okay, so I like the loose weights because of the core strength, because you kind of need your core when
Yeah.
you're doing the boxing anyway. I
Yes.
want to address. I see it. This person here, awaken all day. You are new to my Rumble channel. Thanks for the comments tonight. Definitely been commenting about cannabis, but he also says the speed bags are good, helps with timing, coordination, a lot of rhythm of the hips and shoulders. Yep, just needs
Yeah.
to go through a solid punch. Yeah, I agree. I like the whole thing because you're not just lifting, you're not just exercising. You're
Yeah.
working on coordination and everything else. Um, I guess exercise could be considered that too if you're doing like maybe like aerobics or something like that. You're kind of working on
Yeah.
coordination, but I want to get into
Hand-eye
yoga.
coordination. It does help with my neurological problems as well. But even more so because with freestyle, it's not just, two strikes each hand. It's not just the typical, like I work on speed roll because we have a competition every year at the gathering.
Ah,
I hit what was it, 460 strikes in 60 seconds.
so did you win?
Um,
Or are you working on the
no,
title? Okay.
but it's interesting because I had been told before, well, you can't compete with the guys. I was only 60 strikes less than my mentor who taught me. I was only 67 strikes less than the guy who won. I was fastest out of the females there. So that was kind of a big deal for me. So
That's
especially
awesome.
with everything I've been
Well,
through.
I don't see
But
why not. I mean,
we need a lot of,
I guess I mean, strength is not a part of it. It's coordinate. Hand-eye coordination is big. I mean, well, you got to build your strength
yes and
for it.
no.
But I mean, it's
Yeah,
like
because
above
speed is a
strength
different
above
type
you.
of, yeah,
Like
it's fast twitch. That's the thing, it's fast
right.
twitch muscles.
And that's what I
So
was gonna say. Is men? I
yeah,
don't
it's
know if
not
men
brute
have
strength.
better. Right.
Yeah,
I'm
it's not
not
brute
sure if
strength.
men have better fast twitch muscles. The heck, it's hard. That's hard to say. I don't know if we have better fast twitch muscles, but than women. But I would say women have better hand-eye coordination,
Yes.
so you can make up for
Well,
there. Yeah. Interesting.
I also have a little bit of an edge as a female because we are built for endurance.
Oh yeah, true. And also pain. Believe it or not, women are built with a much higher pain tolerance, which you probably know this, but I'm just talking to the
So if you're
70 people
doing
in the house.
a 60-second roll trying to maintain speed, a full minute, I was bogging down at 30 seconds at one point after the flare I had. And Kyle says to me, well, everybody bogs down at 30 seconds. It's science. And I went, I'm going to prove otherwise.
You
And
could bog
I
down
was
in a
able
minute,
to,
push it
I
back.
was able to
Yeah.
push past that. I wasn't bogging down until about 45 seconds. I said, I think the female body is probably designed better for that issue.
Hmm.
So it kind of evens out. I was like, don't separate the men and women. You don't need to, because I'm coming after your score.
Don't even worry about it. Like it's still the same. It's the same bag, the same score. So even though they
Yeah.
separate it or not, you can still keep. It's like the kids that don't get to keep track of the score. There's no score in the kickball game anymore, or whatever. They're still
Yeah.
keeping score on the sidelines anyway. They're like, hey, okay, all right. It's very
But also
similar.
a
Yeah.
lot of what we do is the tricks and stuff. So that's the deal with this Jim Bradley bag. It's very lightweight. It's a very special bag. And it goes on a different type of swivel. This is a U-bolt up here. And so for Rocky style, what you see boxers training,
Mhm.
they usually use a U-bolt. The Thrasher House swivel is a ball and hook, so it can go any direction that you're going to hit it. And we do a lot of elbow strikes, there's spins, there's a lot of stuff involved with freestyle that you don't see with somebody who's a boxer training in a gym. So it does get very technical, and that helps with forming new um, connections in the brain, quite
Mhm.
honestly, because I think that I would have had a harder time recovering from that last severe flare without it. And I was very frustrated because it depleted my speed. It made it difficult. I would be punching and just all of a sudden my hand would drop and I'd be like,
Mm.
really? You know, so I had
Be
to
about
motivate myself to push through that and just keep working at it. I've got video of me doing that where it was like I just stop and go, why? Something is disconnecting in my brain here. Yeah. But when you go through the motions, it helps to form new neural connections. Yeah.
rewire it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying about my shoulder a little bit, as far as like I have to go through, I have to exercise in certain ways that I can't, that I'm able to without pain, in order to make my shoulder kind of remember what it's doing. I guess I don't know. I'm trying to oversimplify it here, but
Muscle
basically,
memory. And
right,
yeah.
part of my shoulder is coming out of the socket, and it's like touching the walls and bumping into my, like in certain directions. It really hurts. Like I told him, I've never ever said this before, but I told him a 10 when he said,
Yeah.
what's the pain? Like, only when I said, when I move, if I have to crank it the wrong way, or go for an itch too quickly when I shouldn't, then yes, it goes up to 10, where my arm literally goes like where I can't use it for a minute. I hang it down. I'm like,
Did they did they
yeah.
say
So
impingement syndrome?
nope, just
Really?
possible damage muscle in there
It's an
somewhere.
easy test. If this hurts right here, that's
Yeah,
impingement syndrome.
yeah, it is.
That's what I had
It's
surgery
right in
for.
here. It's right in here, and that's where I've been seeing a medical,
Yeah.
or a massage therapist and a physical therapist, and they still can't. And my doctor, and no one can figure out anything. It's like, all right,
Well, here's the thing. When I was not quite 18, I was in an abusive relationship and I had my arm twisted up behind my back and he pushed my hand up between my shoulder blades. So I actually had a separated AC joint. I was pretty young. But I didn't have anything done about it for a long time. As I got older, I was having more pain and dysfunction with this arm. And that's when they finally, tested it. And all they did was push across like this. And I went, ow, 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 ow. It was like,
yeah,
because that just was agony. So,
that's what's happening with
impingement
me. They
syndrome.
didn't impingement syndrome. You said,
Yeah,
okay,
impingement. Yeah.
or
So
impingement.
not
All right.
enough space. So what they did was they did a clavicular resection, took off the end of the collarbone, and a
Wow.
subacromial decompression, which means I had bony spurs under this cap here, so they ground those out. And then what didn't show on the MRI was I actually had started to develop very minor tears in the rotator cuff muscles. So they debrided so that it would heal. And then when it came to my right shoulder 6 months later, they were like, well, how's your range of motion on the one we already fixed? And I went, it's great. Let's go. I was like, I am so done with this. And
Right.
my surgeon said it was almost like it was a carbon copy. It was a mirror of the other side. Same
I,
thing.
I I'm feeling a
And
tiny bit of pain on my other side now too, which I'm like worried. I assume that it's because I'm favoring it because of the other, but
yeah,
then maybe it's the same issue. So you
yeah,
never know.
it's pretty common. The one thing I will tell you is this: look, if there are bone spurs in particular, which if you haven't had an MRI, you should.
Hmm.
Um,
They
if
should
there
be.
are, it is not going to improve, even with PT. Those bone spurs are dangerous. They will start tearing the muscle. And at that point, you're in serious trouble because it's a much more serious surgery and you could end up needing permanent hardware, anchors, stuff like that. It has a higher failure rate. So, my recommendation to people who have these symptoms is always just get the imaging done. Find out
Right.
what you are dealing with because if you don't know, then you could do more damage. And you don't want to tear those muscles.
Well, I'm gonna tell them next week. I mean, I feel like sometimes they being all these different appointments I see, like they want to go with what the easiest answer first
They do.
until they find out, oh, that physical therapy didn't work.
They call
Let's
it
go to
step
the next.
therapy. Yeah,
Yes.
step
Yeah.
therapy. But it just tell them, look, this isn't resolving, and
I can push them to get an MRI. I think I wish I should do
yeah,
that.
they should,
I'm
because you
kind of
could end
afraid
up.
of the MRI, though. I'll be honest. I don't want to be. I don't want to be injected with the nuclear liquids.
Oh,
But I
you
know
don't
that's not
need.
every time. I had that happen
No,
once, and it was a
yeah, you
weird,
don't need
weird
it.
thing. Your body feels
Yeah,
all cold and stuff, or I heated up or something. I can't remember which one
you don't
happened.
need contrast for this.
But,
No, just a basic MRI will show it. You don't need contrast. I don't do contrast. I have
yeah,
refused that anytime they suggested it. It's just a basic MRI. They'll be able to see. Like I said, the only thing they couldn't see on mine was that there were slight tears in the rotator cuff, but it's because they were so minor. But if there's bony spurs, if there's not enough space, they can see that. Yeah,
I think there are some small tears. I mean, or at
yeah.
least that's what I said. Like, if it's not a tear, what is it? And then like, well, maybe some damaged muscle. Like, wouldn't that be a tear? Like, I don't know what else you call it. Like,
I don't
damaged.
think they know how to answer that. They don't know, because like, look, they're afraid of a misdiagnosis
Right.
accusation, and I get that. But there is another form of malpractice called failure to diagnose.
Mm-hmm.
Once they know that that, they're a little more cooperative to actually give you the tests that you want.
Oh, really? Okay. Because I've had some misdiagnosis with the VA, but it seems like they don't worry so much about being sued, but the regular like the what do you call it, public practices do.
Yeah.
So I could totally see that for sure.
Failure to diagnose and failure to treat. Most people don't realize that. Once I learned those phrases, I weaponized them.
Let's go. Yeah, that's like just saying it that way makes it sound like, oh man, I better get something done.
Because you
That's
know
crazy.
something. And
Real quick. Oh,
I
go
had
ahead.
to have imaging redone. I think it was about, was it last year? Because I was having so much pain here, and it's weird because I was concerned. Do I have damage again? And thankfully, the surgery all healed fine. So there's no tears. But I have tendonitis on this side. That was visible in the MRI. I didn't know it would be. On this side, I had a little surprise. There's a piece
Uh-oh.
of my collarbone that broke off. It's attached to the connective tissue, but not attached to the collarbone. So I have a chronic avulsion fracture, is what they call it. I know when it happened. Now, they will tell you with that, if it's considered a chronic avulsion fracture, it had to have been at least a year, more than a year ago. But I know it wasn't that long. I know when it happened, I fell. I fell when I had climbed on a piece of furniture to put something on the wall, and I
Mm.
landed on this elbow and shoved my shoulder up like this. And I had a lot of
Wow.
pain after that. So I know when it happened. Minor thing. They don't consider it anything to repair. But yeah, there's a piece broken off my collarbone.
So they didn't want to put like they didn't put anything to like brace like have your shoulders back more. When I broke my collarbone, it was like a full on break, like
This is
break.
just like a little piece,
Yeah, so it was a little
and
different.
it had been months. So it doesn't seem to
Wow.
be a problem now. Yeah.
So I'm trying to imagine it. It's like the piece of bone is still where it's supposed to be, but it's separated from the rest of the bone, and that's only being held there by connective tissue or whatever. That's wow.
Yeah.
Never heard of
Basically
that.
like a chip or something. I don't know. I've got the discs, but I didn't have a machine to look at them at the time. So I still need to look at them, but I haven't even seen it. I don't know. My doctor looked at it. He wasn't concerned. I was like, okay. Broke it. Wow. I fell
Whoa.
hard.
I came back to the comments, and the comments are all like overlapping each other. What is
Oh
happening
my
over
God.
here? I don't know if you're even able. You probably aren't able to even see them. You
Oh,
can. It'll cover your screen. If you click on the screen, there's a like a chat. you're actually in the private chat. If you click over to the regular comments, they call it,
I'm afraid to
then you
touch
can
it
actually
because when
see
I
it.
did that before with Greg, it threw me out of the broadcast.
You either hit the back button or the X. There's an X that's like a little too close to everything else. You hit that to like, oh, let me close the screen, but it actually pops you out. Anyway, you don't have to. I'm putting them all up here, but what I'm seeing is weird. Like there's like 3 or 4 comments overlapping each other, which is very strange.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Some very
Oh,
nice relief.
that's artistic.
Dislocated mine.
Oh,
Wow. 90
ouch.
degree. Yeah, we got a lot of people commenting. Appreciate you guys. Now I want to real quickly let you know we're past the hour, and what I want to know is, do you guys want to win an indoor farmer coupon? And if so, hit that like button. And I think what we're going to do, we still have 70 people in the house. If we can get enough likes, then we're going to give away a door prize tonight. But also, I'm going to put up the wheel for my subscribers in a minute. And I want to make sure, I didn't tell you beforehand, Tala, but you're welcome. If you have to get going anytime, just say the word. But I usually stay on a couple of hours. So if you want to hang out while we do this spin,
Yeah.
I'll give you a little taste of what the giveaway culture is like on Facebook, because that is what this is. This is what brings the people in. A lot of times we get the people that aren't normally viewers, like, the people that don't love what I do typically, but they'll come through when they see a wheel up on the screen, like, hey, what's up? What's going on, everybody? So guys, if you want to hit that like button and share it out, tag some friends in here. Let's see if we can get another 5 or 10 people in on the Facebook side, and then we'll do a door prize for tonight. But make sure that you go and follow Tala if you are on Facebook, and join my group. And I think I'm not sure if you're in that yet. I thought you were, maybe not.
I don't think so.
The group I made over there is a little different than the group. Tala and I are both admin on the live stream community on X. Shouts out to Gilo too. But the group that I made was more for a sort of a stepping stone for people to leave that ship and have like a home to be at when they come to X. You know what I mean? Not only for my friends that are on X already, but for people that are coming to X to kind of intermingle and to help people out in that respect. So that's what that group is for. And if anybody's looking to get on X from Facebook, definitely go follow us and check out the little community that we have over there on X. It's a good connection to a lot of good people, different angles and different, like, I love I'm kind of, what do you call it? I don't know if ADD covers it, but I'm a little interested in almost everything. And so I follow like tons of different types of people over there. Dr. Heath comes to mind a lot because, that daily dose of a real psychologist, with that real knowledge coming at you. And if you want to tell people, we're definitely going to let you promote and tell people when, like, what your show is and when you go live, because I think you do a weekly show, at least one. You might do more than that, though. I'm not sure what your schedule is exactly. But I want to say real fast before we hear what you do. This is the number wheel for this week. Supporters, we got up to 19 so far. We're going to do 2 more spins tomorrow night on people in the boxes. So I'm going to do this spin right now. But yeah, what shows do you do?
Okay, so my primary commitment is with Nick Bebo, aka Write Already. He has the weekly Writers Therapy Family space that we do on X. So I schedule everything around that. In fact, that was who I was checking with before I committed to doing this with you. So
Sure.
we're actually doing that tomorrow. And then I got involved with the Feel Good Friday space with Kimberly K. Scott. I'm an equal co-host with her on that. When she relaunched, she brought me in. We don't do that every single Friday.
Okay.
Yeah. We don't do it every single Friday. We were for a little while, but it's basically just like if it's been 4 or 5 weeks, make sure to get one in there, But probably 1 to 2 a month consistently. but it is, of course, always on a Friday because it's Feel Good Friday. So those are the two. I do co-host with several other people. Just randomly, if
Sure.
somebody needs a co-host, I step in. I'm one of the backup co-hosts for Tough Talks on Tuesday night. That's with Creative Madness and Intricate One, and then Kimberly Kay is the co-host there. So I've helped them out with that. There's a number of people who seem to check with me first if they have someone who's going to be gone and they need help. Joshua Busby is one of them. He tries to
Okay.
check with me first. So I just like to fill in, I could be doing my own spaces, but I don't know. To take that lead position, yeah, I did it a few times and it just didn't feel like me, you know? Um,
It's a bit different, isn't it? Yeah. Kind of have
yeah.
to.
I mean, with live stream broadcasting, I've been doing that for almost 9 years. That's natural for me. I can do this. Um, and I don't have a schedule with that. I do that rather randomly, So,
Yeah. So you were on Periscope, right?
yes.
Periscope.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never knew about that one, but a lot of you guys are still friends over on X from that, which that's very cool. That's cool.
That's how I
That
met
reminds
Greg.
me. Say again.
That's how I met Greg.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's from back then. Okay, and that's why he kind
Yeah.
of kept everybody together. That's
Yes.
cool of him. It's so weird the similarities between these social media like cliques or sort of communities that grow versus a I'm gonna get a bit nerdy here with the video game communities on like Discord and other places where they you grow like it's still social media, but those communities grow because hey, we need players. Can you play with us?
Yeah.
And so that's where I started, like 15 years ago playing World of Warcraft. Getting together with groups, and you're in what they call a guild, right? But then now, like fast forward 15 years, I'm joining groups on Facebook. I'm like, what guild is this? Like it feels the same as like World of Warcraft, except without the game part of it. It's so funny. It's like just getting together. Real fast. Chris, you asked me if I got numbers for the Facebook side. I did, but I did not see you on there, brother. We got 2 more spins tomorrow, so we need to fix it for tomorrow, and I'll get you added on. I only saw 3 people on the Facebook side. So yeah, hit me up if we got to figure it out. It's you got to go to the group that you are put into when you're subscribed. So if you're subscribed to my page, it's called Waylon the Waylon the Indoor Farmer subscribers. If you're subscribed to my profile, it's called Waylon Maccabee subscribers. So hit me up later, Chris. We'll get you on there, man. Yeah, number 7 was our winner, and let me see who that was. We got. Typically, I name off all the numbers, but you guys can go and see the response to get your number if you want. Looks like William Falconer. Congrats. If any of my admin or moderators want to tag him, you're welcome to. He doesn't have to be here, but you can tag him. William. Something I meant to ask you a minute ago is that do you ever notice cannabis being a benefit before exercising? I actually really, or maybe you stay away from until after you exercise. But if you listen to how Joe Rogan talks about it, it's very similar to the experience I've had, where if you smoke a little bit, and now we can get into that too, for edibles versus smoking. I would love to switch to edibles, but it just doesn't do the same thing for me. But the just before going to exercise, that a little bit of numbness actually you can like push harder, and you can kind of just like as long as you don't go sit down on a couch somewhere, typically you're not gonna like fall asleep or anything. But yeah, I've actually really
Okay.
had a positive experience with that. What do you think?
So for me, it's a matter of can I function? And that's whether
Oh,
it's
what's up?
pain that I'm trying to relieve or how I'm affected by whatever it is I'm consuming. And so checks and balances, if I'm in too much pain, I can't exercise. I mean, I can
Right.
drag myself through it, but I'm going to regret that. So I don't do that. So for me, if it's a bad morning, I have a rule about evaluating, and I did this with medications before too. So if it's a really bad morning and my feet really hurt, first thing I do is just kind of take a breath, get to my feet first and see how I'm doing. Do I need to stretch? Do I need to take a minute? I actually do controlled articular rotations for my ankles before I ever get out of bed every morning. And that's because of all the problems I've had with the plantar fasciitis. But I don't reach for it right away, because sometimes with my particular conditions, that pain level is going to drop off pretty sharply within about 20 minutes, sometimes less, maybe an hour. So my preference is wait a little bit, then see how much do I need to dose myself with to
Right.
function. It might not be anything. Sometimes I get to that hour mark and it's like, no, I'm okay now. So I got to be patient about it, because if I just always reach for it, then I don't really know what's going on with my body. I like to listen. Yeah.
Well, I've also people talk about the addiction that is not physical, but addiction. There's different types of there. We did a whole episode on addiction, so you can definitely still be addicted, like using it as a
Yes.
crutch. So I try to stay away from it as long as I can throughout the day as well. But I'll be honest, like I don't really have an appetite otherwise.
Yeah.
Like I'll eat. I won't eat until like 5 o'clock
Oh,
every
wow.
day. So
I like to
until
just
I've
take the edge off, though. That's really it. And so if I'm feeling like I'm dysfunctional enough, yeah, I'm going to take the edge off. But remember, I was talking about I'm such a lightweight, so that was what I was going to do. Was it's like these are 10 milligrams. Okay, that's not very much.
right.
I don't eat a whole gummy, you guys.
Got the fork and knife and
I
slice it up.
literally, yeah, because I made the mistake when I first got them of, like, I chopped it in quarters because I wasn't sure, because I've had the experience before of getting too much in my system. So I took a quarter of it, and then later on I was like, I'm not really sure that's enough. So I took the other quarter of it. I don't even remember if it was like I took an entire one by the time the evening was over or what, but it was too much, and so I figured out, just bite a piece off. That's all you need, just a little
Right.
piece.
Yeah, like a
So
third of it or so.
yeah, I've maintained my sensitivity to substance by doing it that way. So yeah,
That's
just take
good.
the edge off. Yeah.
You're a
I
cheap
don't know
date.
whether I would say there's any benefit to that as far as function in exercise. It's just take the edge off the pain so I can function. That's really what it is
It's
for me.
probably different for you, and it's not going to be that's not going to be an easy comparison, I guess. But
Yeah.
you also don't like you probably would get a lot of a difference when you smoke it. I'm sure you maybe don't do that now that you
Oh,
do a
that
lot
would
of
flatten me too.
yeah. It's
I
a
mean, a
it's a
long
it's
time
a
ago,
different thing.
a long time ago, I had a contact high because I was at someone's house. We were doing a New Year's Eve party, and I was already drinking champagne, but I didn't know, because I was too drunk by the time he did this, that he closed the windows up and
Hmm.
smoked everybody out. So when the alcohol wore off and I was still giggling, I was pissed off because I was like, did you really do
I
that to
know
me?
what this is.
Well, they were laughing about it. I'm like, I hate you right now. Yeah. So I had that experience with it. It's for me, that's too much. Yeah. This is a
Looks
very
like Chris might have
controlled
had too
method.
much. He says, "What is
Yeah.
even going on?"
So like
Chris?
my friend Dina, she lives in the Midwest. I know that she uses vape. For her, she has rheumatoid arthritis, so her pain level is probably a step above what I'm dealing with at this point. But she's not taking prescription meds either. She's unmedicated. She's phenomenal. But yeah, she uses medical cannabis as well. And I know that she vapes because this takes too long for her.
Right.
Even like this is fast acting, but even this is iffy. She needs something a little stronger, and she needs it quicker. So I totally get why people do it. But yeah, I don't inhale any of that. It's a little much for my body.
I'm curious. Like I'm wondering like what it would do. You know, like what the difference would be for you. But because for me, like
Lots of
it's a
giggling.
different feeling. You know, it's a different thing. So I want to say, Chris, I know I know why you said this now. What is even going on? It's because Dominic and Joe are taking turns spamming the chat with stickers, and I don't get to see what the stickers look like,
Oh.
but they're here and they are. I don't mind. Keep it going, guys. You're helping my chat algorithm, and if you guys want to do a door prize, we need at least 5 or 10 more people in here. We're at 15 on the Facebook side. If you want to get up to 20 people, bring it in. Let's go. Here's Margaret's got the right idea. Hashtag WTIF. So
We
go ahead.
talked about stigma earlier, and I was
Mhm.
gonna say about that. To me, it's very important to contribute to knocking down stigma. Like there's so many areas where this is an issue. I'm a woman in the speed bag community. I'm in the minority. I'm a woman who has tattoos. I get a lot of hate for that. You know, this in my family, my parents were actually surprised. It was about a year ago that there was a comment made, and I looked over and I went, "Well, Mom, I use medical cannabis. You know that, right?" And they both looked at me and went,
Good.
"Oh." And I went, "Let's talk about this because you need to understand." And I was like, "Do you get that I have used this around you, but you never knew? I'm not getting high. You don't have to get high to take the edge off of pain." And my mom was like, "Oh." And I could see the wheels turning. It was like she's understanding this better. My brother's still very opposed, but he does know that I use it. He understands why. He's been respectful, but he's, like I said, had negative experiences, and I get that. He had someone dose him unknowingly when he was in high school. I would be
Mm,
mad about that too. I
yeah.
had somebody dose me with, I think, meth when I was
Oh wow.
16. Yeah. So, the rage that you feel when someone has put something in your system that you didn't ask for is phenomenal. And I'm still very angry, even though I don't know who did that to me.
Yeah.
I'm so sick. Some of those drugs are terrible.
Hmm.
That's,
Oh, there's a definite difference for sure.
yeah.
But on the other side of that, though, I like to point out things like coffee. You know, there's a lot
Yeah.
of influencers, podcast hosts, all these people online that are pushing their coffee brand. You know, but they're the same person that's going to talk down about cannabis. And it's like, look, I get it. They're not quite the same. You're not going to get high on coffee,
Still a
but you
drug.
kind of, it's still a drug, and it still has a lot of like problems or
Yeah.
detriments that can cause you. I'm missing the word right now.
Moderation good,
Issues,
but
yeah.
overuse. Yeah.
Hmm.
You could
Hmm.
hurt yourself with caffeine. You could.
For sure. Well, I know there's like, some of us have to take too many potty breaks as it is. So that could be one of them. I know. But another thing
That's
is
just
like just not,
inconvenient.
well, right. But sleep too is the other thing. Is like I think it causes a lot of people too many issues when they're just nonstop with caffeine. I really
Yeah.
don't drink much caffeine at all.
I
I had a
stop,
little bit today.
I stop, preferably by noon. And I only drink 1 or 2 cups, and I don't do it every day. But my latest, if I'm going to be up late, is like 4 p.m. But I don't do that very often. I know people who drink it right till the time they go to bed, and Jim does that. He's a truck driver.
Sure. People in my
You know,
family that are against cannabis are like literally drinking buckets of coffee every day. Like the
and
joke
possibly
is,
alcohol.
well, no. The one person I'm thinking of in particular, I feel like that person in my immediate family avoids me because of cannabis, but that person is not a drinker, but the coffee and cigarettes.
Yeah,
Like, come
that's
on,
powerful.
you know what I mean? So let's not compare vices, and everybody gets to have a vice Olympics. You know what I mean? Like, and
And
so
sugar.
right. And I'll say with my mother was very against it because my mother smoked cigarettes for many years and now has an oxygen tank. You know, she doesn't probably want
Yeah.
me to talk about that, but that like she does not like to see me smoking because she thinks the same correlation, but it's not It is not the same thing. I've worried about that too. With some, we talked about. We said we were going to talk about the downsides here, and
Yeah.
like I have developed asthma, not from cannabis, but because of misdiagnosis in the VA. I ended up with allergies, and now I'm asthmatic. For well, that's a long story, but um, the cannabis does affect that. You know, it may not be. I'm not allergic to it, but it does cause me some issues breathing. But I have had discussions with people that have had lung scans because this is a fairly new phenomenon. A person that goes their entire life with just with cannabis is the only thing that they inhale versus somebody that just probably does a lot of different things. And so what I'm getting at is being able to study the lungs with just cannabis use is going to be a new thing coming more and more. But for them to be able to scan our lungs and find out they look clear as a bell compared to that the blackened tar, you know, the whole cigarette type of mentality. So I think a lot of us assume that our lungs are probably looking like that, you know, but it's a different. I'm not going to assume they look clean, but this is an anecdotal story that I was told from somebody. So I know for a fact that it is not the same as all those chemicals in, say, a cigarette.
Right.
But also don't think it's nothing, you know, inhaling a burning plant or whatever. So I wish that edibles would be more beneficial to me. I'd have to eat like all of the ones that you have for me to feel anything. And then again, I hate that phrase saying to feel anything. I'm not trying to necessarily feel something. I want to feel like actually more clear headed. I have like 12 different trains running at the same time, and cannabis just slows that down to like 3. And so
Yeah.
it makes it a little easier to handle. So that's just the balance between the good and the bad of it. And that's with any medication, you know,
Yeah.
you when you go into something without, well, people have used the term moderation in the chat. Moderation, yes, but also uh, a little bit more knowledge about what you're doing and why you're going to do it. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
so you've talked about some of the specifics on the pain that you are medicating for, but you probably were more cautious than most to get it
Oh
to
yeah.
even go down that road, and so you did more research on it and found out, oh, okay, oh, well, we actually have an endocannabinoid system. Oh, okay,
Yes.
there's this connection that people go down the path and start to find, but other people that just went straight to a drug to get quote unquote high, they're not going down that path, and they, let's be honest, they would do that with anything, with your prescription medications, which is obviously a really big misused one. People, I think, try to get around their own conscience. You know, they try to hide from
Yes.
Jiminy Cricket. They say, "Oh, well, this alcohol here is legal, and it's a time honored tradition for many years in these establishments, and I don't mind. Oh, no big deal. Oh, oops, I'm sorry, officer, I didn't mean to hit that pole." And so like it goes from 0 to 60, but then you have things like cigarettes. Oh, there's been commercials for since I grew up. This is a normal thing, right? It's normal. And so people, or the prescription thing, people would push their doctor to, or they would act a certain way to get more prescriptions, and maybe they don't even know they're doing it. They're like, I'm hoping to get maybe a few more Vicodin from them this time, or whatever it is, and it becomes a vice without being an illegal substance. That's two very different things.
And I
Um,
was very I was very conscientious even before I stopped using opioid meds because um I had experienced when I was at my worst finding out that over time I just needed a higher dose. I needed them closer together. And I never, like, I didn't want to stay on that medication. I mean, at that point in 2006, it was back to back doses. I mean, I've talked about this pretty openly in spaces discussions, but I mean, I was in the kind of pain that I wanted to end it.
mm,
So I've been very open about that. Yeah, I was at that point. So I felt like this is not really benefiting me if I'm to the point where I'm having to take these doses closer and closer together. And so I need to detox my body and sort out what's going on. And I was caught in a cycle of, I would get it out of my system. I'd fight my way through. Because, I mean, physically, you are dependent at that point. There's no question. It doesn't matter whether you're an addict or not. Your body's dependent
Right.
on it. It's going to throw false signals. It's going to say there's pain when there's not. It's going to make pain where there wasn't any.
Oof.
I would fight my way through 3 days and then find I'm still in real legitimate pain. I mean, Jim looked at me at one point and said, I can tell you're in real pain. You need to take a pill because you're on the floor again. I'm like, yeah. And I mean, I literally cried at one point because it was like I didn't have any other option. I needed to get relief from it. And so I went back on the medication and I didn't want to. I mean, that was the hardest thing for me to do. I cried. So there was a lot that took place between then and now. And a lot of it is physical therapy. Physical therapists really saved my life. Once I got with someone who was sports medicine educated and was finding where the issues were at their root and actually getting me functional a little bit, then I started gaining some control. But with those type of meds, you know, at that point I was on a lot, but by the time I quit, I was basically filling 30 tablets a year. And
Wow.
so if I had a flare, then I would take one tablet maybe 4 hours apart during my daytime hours so I could function. And it'd be for a week or two until it eased up. And I always knew when that was coming. That whole complex with the sciatic nerve and the piriformis muscle was where the problem was. And I would move wrong. You know that feeling. There's a twinge and it's like, ah, crap.
Oh,
You know?
got it. Yeah.
So I learned when that happens, go ahead and take a pill because then it's going to be 3 or 4 days, not 3 or 4 weeks. So at that point, it was so uncommon for me to need it that it wasn't as difficult to finally just say, I'm done. You know, I had already reduced it. But there was a point. Yeah, there was a time when it was just one refill after another. Yeah.
Did you try anything else besides like obviously you probably tried a lot of things in between there. Did you ever try anything like acupuncture or like a Reiki massage or like whatever?
The only good thing Kaiser ever did for me, besides finally giving me a diagnosis of autoimmune disease, they had a department called physical medicine, which I've never really understood. It's all medicine's physical medicine, but okay. So the woman there sent me to an acupuncturist. Kaiser actually was groundbreaking in that regard. They would cover acupuncture. And that was beneficial to a certain degree. It helped with fibromyalgia symptoms, but it wasn't going to do anything for the autoimmune disease. And in fact, it was good that they sent me to the woman that they did because she was very much educated about autoimmune disease. Because with something like acupuncture, you have to know what you're doing. You have to be very careful because she could set me up with a pattern that would, for example, stimulate my immune system into activity, and that's not what you want. My immune system is overactive. So if she were to stimulate immune activity, she could cause a flare. She knew how to avoid that. But I lost that insurance, which was actually the best thing that ever happened. And for a while, I had an insurance that it gave me a discount, but not coverage, just because she was doing that. And then eventually I lost that insurance package. And I would go back, I think, but I haven't really needed it, you know, not in recent years. It's beneficial for some things, not quite enough for others. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure I need it for anything, but it's something that I've looked at. Like I did get a Reiki massage one time, not like it was a free one because I was doing a review on this place, and that was weird. It's like didn't really do anything. I didn't really feel it. I was like, what? Okay.
Yeah,
real quick
I know
though,
people who
Joe,
do that, but
don't do it, my guy. Don't do it. If your outlet is wet, please don't stick anything in there. I'm guessing that's a typo, but don't put a wet charger into your wet outlet, please, Joe. Don't do it, my guy.
wow. Now, I also started learning Wuxi style Tai Chi Chuan when I was in my early 20s. So I've been a practitioner for a few decades. And I will all day long encourage people to learn Tai Chi because that um, that will help you maintain mobility as you get older. Um, and mobility is not the same as flexibility. Mobility is your strength in a range of motion, like I talked about controlled articular rotations. So
Hmm.
in the outer ranges, like in other words, like being able to cross your arm over this way rather than this is passive, but the strength that you have to go through that outer range of motion in your joints is very, very important. And I have gone through some problems with that. I was losing thoracic spine mobility at one point, and they found that pretty quickly in physical therapy, and that's been since corrected. But Tai
You
Chi
kind
will
of
run you through,
self-correct. Sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
Tai Chi will run you through the range of motion and help you maintain that mobility so that you don't lose it in the first place. Yeah.
Like your full range of motion, because I think people will just like naturally will shorten their own range of motion without even like subliminally, like just keep shortening your range of motion to whatever the part that doesn't hurt, and kind of
That's
like how I
exactly
am
what I
with
was
my
doing.
shoulder. Yeah, like
Yeah.
when you it's similar to like a more acute injury that happens, and you're like babying that injury. People do that on a overall basis for your whole body. Like
Yeah.
if you move into a house as you get older that has no stairs, then
Yeah.
you can develop just shuffling around, kind of not really
Hmm.
walking very, like a different type of walking, I guess, maybe is what I'm trying
And
to
with
say.
all
But yeah.
that plantar fasciitis pain and the problems with the Achilles tendon, I've got overcalcification in my left heel, all of that. I didn't realize that after a couple of injuries, I apparently had developed a mild case of foot drop on the left side. So I
Hmm.
have been working for a few weeks now to rehab that and regain my ability to pick my toe up correctly. So what I realized in analyzing my own stride was because of that, I've been throwing all of my weight onto my right side, and that's why my right hip flexor has been exhausted and cramps up. It's all
Hmm.
of these little imbalances. Yeah, we avoid. It's painful. I'm not going to stand on my left foot.
And you, after a
Now
while, you
you've got
realize,
pain on the
man,
right side.
after a while, you realize, man, I've only been able to turn right for like
Yeah,
a month now. What is going on here? I can only turn right.
exactly.
You keep
So I've
going
got a
around in
lot of
circles.
imbalances to fix. Yeah.
Yes, awakened all day. Probably, I'm guessing, is right about this. It's either a picture of a Hunger Games. Oh, okay, no, it's a phoenix. It's a
It's a
phoenix.
phoenix. Yeah.
It looks like
And
you
that is,
surrounded with flames. Like you're the it's the Hunger Games gal. She's
I
here.
said I had tattoos.
Okay, I was wondering what you were about to do there. What's happening? Uh, okay,
Start the music up. But yeah, I have a
right.
phoenix tattooed on my shoulder. Yeah.
Okay,
So
cool. I don't have any
much to my
tattoos,
brother's
believe it or
chagrin.
not.
You know that meme that says something like, if somebody tells me not to do something, I'll do it twice and take pictures, right? So it's
Oh snap!
basically, I'll
You
do
never been
bigger
taken
the next time.
advantage of in that case? No one's ever been like, "Oh yeah, you won't do it," and like
Well, I
just
had a small tattoo on my shoulder that my mom didn't like, so I covered it with a big phoenix.
Eric covered. Yeah, I have zero tattoos. I'm not
I
opposed to
have,
getting one. I just don't never needed one.
yeah, I've got the phoenix here. I have a set of two eagles on the back of my shoulder. Jim has that here. I've got weeping willow branches, and I have a vulture feather on my back. Yeah.
Hmm. So that's all meaningful stuff, Like I always like the tattoos where it's like, I don't know why I got it. It's a clown on a headless horse carrying a pogo stick, shoving like I don't know, just this whole thing. He's got a revolver somehow, and it's just like there's a rose and there's just everything. Like I like
All of
tribal art
mine,
tattoos myself.
yeah, it's all related to my native culture, and
Remember when
Like the
tribal art
Eagles
became
are,
real popular, but then it became
yeah,
then it was like a
tribal.
fad, right? But then it was like you got made fun of if you had tribal art at a certain point, like, and then I think we're past that
Mine
now.
is legitimately my tribe.
Right, right.
So
But
yeah, I drew the eagles. That's my artwork.
or
The willow
symbolism, yeah.
branches.
Eagles.
This one
Okay.
was drawn for me. Yeah, yeah. I've
I
got
gotta take I
eagles
gotta
with
take my
feathers.
belt off real quick. I gotta show you something. Check out this belt. Check out this belt collar. Look at this. These are hand etched by hand.
That sounds wrong.
I took it off. It's off.
That's
At
beautiful
least you
though.
all know I have pants on now, okay? Or at least just a belt. I don't know. But I could tell you this though.
I'm gonna have to
I
clip
felt
that later. I'm gonna take my belt off. I gotta show
flip it
you
off.
something.
Well, we'll clip it with you, like looking like you're about to take your shirt off. We'll just clip it together. Boom, we got it. We got that's the 10-minute clip right there. No, but look at this though, for real. I bought this at the farmer's market. I found an old couple that are like, I don't know, 90 years old, and I was like, wow, okay, just looking at the leather, and I was doing a review like I normally do. I try to go to each booth and I take pictures, I tell them who I am and stuff. And then this booth though, I was like, you know what, I do need a belt. And I was looking at his belt, and I don't have eagles all over my house, but I found this belt there, and like literally he did all these by hand. These are all hand etched eagles all the way around the belt. And then later
I
I
know
went
how
to
much
another
work goes
event.
into that because I used to do that stuff. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I can't imagine how it was even done. Just like a little knife, I
You
guess. I
have
don't
to
know.
soak the leather to soften it and then it has to stay moist while you're working with it. But you have tools that like stamps and a mallet that you hammer the design in. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like a little. I just thought he was a good artist with his hands, like etching it all in there. Like, holy cow!
Yeah, if it's
Um,
relief, if it's got levels, then it was hammered in there. And
well,
sometimes you
check
do
this
cuts
out.
and stuff, and then you have to seal it. Oh wow.
So I got this at a different event and from another very old man, probably older than the first man. Very like extremely old. It's a whole long story. My son had to go pee at the guy's house. We were at this like sale that goes down this street like a few blocks down this street, and it's there. It's like a 30-year-old thing they do every year. This last old man that was still there as we were leaving to go home, and he had this little table with belt buckles, and I saw this
Wow.
big eagle belt buckle, and I was like, you know what, I have to get that. It goes perfectly with my belt. Well, it's man, it's a whole story. I talked about it that night, or not that night, but for that review episode. And man, we had to leave and come back to the old man's house because I didn't have cash, and he didn't have like a cash app or anything like that. And so we had to come back, and my son had to pee at his house a second time. The story is actually way funnier than that, but I'm not going to get into the whole thing at this moment. But yeah, it was a crazy story. But I found these two pieces that seemed like they just had to be together. You know what I mean?
I've had stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah, I used to do leather work. I learned that when I was in school. I went to a private co-op school, so my mom and I learned that together. It was one of the crafts that we decided to set up. What was that about birds?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I don't think either one of us talked about the
Dirty
eagle around my waist. That's not a dirty bird. That's a clean bird down there. What are you talking about? A clean bird. It's a bald eagle,
Yeah,
actually. It's a bald
Greg is gonna
eagle.
be like, Greg is gonna be like, I can't leave you two unsupervised.
I kind of feel bad when we did our podcast over the weekend. I was the only sort of bad boy throwing out some less than appropriate topics a couple times. I mean, I won't go through them all, but I'm just going to say that Ron Jeremy was brought up one time. So,
Oh yeah, I heard that. I was laughing. Yeah.
yeah, I got him good with that one. Oh, God. They all kind of woke up all of a sudden. Like, you get in this like drone of the conversation, and it's like when someone throws a curveball in there, spaces are really like that, man.
Oh yeah.
Bring up the wrong
Believe
person,
me.
and just everything goes
The
sideways.
writers therapy family is we have our juvenile side.
Yeah, WTF and WTIF. Like we gotta collab somehow, you know?
He was originally he was using writers therapy hour, so it was WTH, And then one time he decided to switch it to Writers Therapy Family, and he was like, I don't know whether I should keep this. I was the one who said, no, keep it. It's hilarious.
What the fuck space? That kind of sounds right. It sounds
Yes,
like I thought
that's
that
what
seemed
people think it is
proper.
when they come in.
Yeah. And you're
It's
like,
a good
whoa,
hook.
what's happening? Yeah, I think it works. And mine is similar because it makes people think it says what a WTF, but it actually doesn't.
Yeah.
In fact, it says this. Over a little more, a little more, a little more. There it is.
Well, and some of our titles, we play with that WTF in the title, so
Nice. Yeah, I actually found since I've been, this has been like 4 years now, but there's a website called the Indoor Farmer, and which I think popped up since. I don't have it copyrighted or anything, but you know what? No one's going to be called Wayland the Indoor Farmer. Like, I can keep that if I have to, but yeah,
yeah.
just the Indoor Farmer is pretty generic as far as people could steal it, but I can show the receipts about how long I've been doing this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I researched First Light Warrior before I nailed that down when I rebranded, because I wanted to be sure nobody else is already using it. So,
but then you got to pay, even if you pay for it, like say as a domain or even a business name, someone can
which I
still
need to
call
do.
themselves that on social media. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's funny the way that works.
And trademarking is not only a little bit of money, but it's complicated. You really want to have someone who knows what they're doing set it up for you. Copyright's easy. Copyright's free.
Right.
Boundary, yeah.
So we got about 10 minutes left, guys. It looks like we didn't get to the door prize numbers for tonight, but it was a last minute thought. I should have said it earlier. I like to do random. I like to do, like, if I'm going to give something away, I want it to be random and not like that be the entire reason for the show. Although game night is kind of that, but low key, it's a reason for me to play games and have fun with friends. I don't know if you've seen that on Sundays. We do it's like a game show where we. So like this week we started a new game, and I'll show you the game real quick to tease it for everybody. But started a new map, I guess I call it. But this is a race map, and everyone seemed to like it. We had some trivia questions involved and all that good stuff, and those are all my sponsors up there on the screen. So yeah, it was fun. But yeah, we play a different game every. I change it up every couple of weeks. Like I'll add to this one for 2 or 3 weeks, and then I'll change the map up altogether to a new one, and just kind of keep it flowing. It keeps my ADD happy. I get to make up random rules and games, and I don't get to play in them, but I get the satisfaction comes in watching them get played out. Like, okay, this is how. Okay, oh, that's how it worked out. Okay, that's pretty fun. Like, anyway, it's fun. It's like a game show, except we give away a lot of cannabis centric type products and sponsors, but then some that are not. We have an engraving company. We've got a beekeeper, an apiary that sponsors, and a few others that are non-cannabis. But yeah, we have a good time though. I always like to say I'm not a cannabis influencer. That's not my thing. I happen to use cannabis, and I want to help to normalize it, like we were talking about, beating the stigma. But I also want to help to not just normalize it, but clarify it for the people that are confused. Even people that use it sometimes don't think about it in the ways that we talked about tonight, like thinking about it from the perspective of someone outside of the world of it. And a lot of people on Facebook particularly will talk about they say in this community, in the canna community, they call it the canna community. Just because words work together well doesn't mean that it's a real thing. Like they canna community, as in it's basically just means the people they know that use cannabis. Well, that's very limiting, and that's kind of pigeonholing us into this area where us and them, right? And I brought it up before, where we use banks, we use grocery stores, we use gas stations. Like the cannabis quote industry uses the services and products from anywhere like outside the industry as well. So like there's got to be this merger or this outreach basically from within the culture and kind of pushing the what's the word, the usage of the plant, but there's another word I'm trying to think of, pushing the value of the practicality of the plant, not just pushing the cool like culture side of things, like okay, you know, the music, the clothing, the look how I can do a bigger dab than you can do, and let's be cool about it. And that's all fun, that's great, I love it, I get into it myself, but what we should be pushing as our main agenda is how useful it is and how it can be. I don't call it a cure-all. I think someone said that earlier in the comments. I wouldn't call it a cure-all necessarily, but it does have many benefits we haven't even finished unlocking yet. So that should be what we stand on, not like, oh hey, you look different than me, like I don't like that you're coming like so there's a big wedge right now in the industry, I would call it, versus the community, that there are people getting into the cannabis industry for profit. And I'm sorry, but when you create an industry, that's what you're going to have. You're going to have people that are more business minded, that just want to work the profit angle. Oh, hey, this is a very good markup and it's a great opportunity. I'm going to work on this and make money. And a lot of people within the quote community of it, or culture of cannabis, they don't like that, or they're sort of being it leaves a bad taste in your mouth, or makes you feel like, oh, it's going to be too corporate and all this stuff. And that might be true. It's probably is true. It's probably going to be on pharmacy shelves before too long, you know. But that's unfortunately the what's the term, the consequences of going legal. So in California,
It really
of all
is.
states, and California has been the first place to go legal. So you probably have been, you've been going through your journey towards cannabis like before most people even were close to legalization. That's funny.
And I was slow about it, like I said.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to just jump on the bandwagon. And initially, it was you did have to have a card, and I wasn't about to jump into the middle of that. I happened to have connections with people who could just get me what I needed before I got to that point. It was like,
Right.
but I'm so conservative with my usage that I wasn't mowing through this stuff.
Yeah, it would
It's a
take
little
you
odd
forever.
to me when I go into the dispensary that I go to. It's like there was a guy there one time. He's one of the, like, he's a vendor, I guess, and he was talking about the product he had, which was a butter, and it sounded great. I listened to his little spiel. I was like, oh, okay, cool. But his marketing point, it didn't, he missed me. You know what I mean? Because his marketing point was to talk about having fun with it. And I'm like,
Right.
that's not why I'm here. You know, I'm like, I'm standing there going, I can barely walk today. And you want to talk about, you know, making cookies and eating ice cream. And I'm like,
Just
dude,
getting a fun buzz. Yeah. Like,
yeah, it was like, first of all, I avoid processed refined sugars because that makes my pain worse. And you're talking about, oh, this is a great treat. And, you know, you're talking
oh,
about
wow.
extra calories. And I'm all, yeah, you can miss me with that. So it was a little strange. It was like, you have a good product and that you could have marketed that to me if you had approached it better, you know?
Right.
But, you know, be that as it may, the tenders who are actually part of that establishment are very respectful, and they understand. They know me when I come in. They're like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" I'm all, you know.
Well, that can be a better experience for sure. And I will, for one, will tell you that there is this stigma even within the culture of whether or not you should go to the dispensary. Like, I never go to the dispo, or the people that, well, okay, there's a point of pride of not having to go there because you grow your own. That's fine. But then the other point of like, the street dealers that want you to buy from them will down talk the products inside the dispensary when there are problems with both, and
Oh yeah.
you know what I mean. Real
That's
fast,
another type of
Awaken.
stigma. I've run into that. Yeah, that's like,
Yeah,
oh well, I've had people tell me, oh, this stuff is not that good. I'm like, well, it works for me.
right. They just want you to go through them, and I've had problems with, like, for instance, I am out of concentrates. I do dabs, if you know what the dabs are, but I actually have a couple of jars of stuff that I got from a friend that I can't even do because it makes me cough too much. It's like there's some other way that it's being made or something, and I'm like, look, you can argue all till you're blue in the face, but there's a range of products in the dispensary. You don't normally get a range of products from your buddy down the street. Um, Awakened, I want to answer your question real fast. I'm guessing you're interested in game night. He asked, what time is that? That's Sunday nights at 5:30 Central Time. I'd love to see you come back, man. You're gonna love it. It's fun. We also give away hundreds of dollars in prizes every week, and have like 14 winners, or was it like, yeah, like 13, or I don't know. This week was at least that. I do giveaways for my subscribers quite often compared to just openly for everybody. But yeah, this week we got a whole list of people that won prizes from game night. So definitely come back and check it out on Sunday nights. And speaking of that, it's a good time for more promotions. Go check out Tala, like I said, guys. And I would say that you do a lot more longer form posts and more thoughtful posts versus like going live and doing, But the spaces, I know you like the ones that you get into. So
Yeah. Well, I also have I have a Substack page. So
oh, cool.
my Substack is monetized, but not all of the content is behind a paywall. I continue to put free content up because I'm not trying to be exclusive.
Sure.
It's just
Right.
I needed some monetization, so it is there for people who want to support. And I
I
do
keep
have
telling people to
subscription.
do that. Do it
Yeah, I
yourself.
do have
Don't worry
subscription to
about, yeah.
X as well.
Oh, you
Yeah,
do
so
too. Okay.
yeah, I got that a
What's
while back.
what is
But
it? What do you have it at? What's it set at?
$4. Yeah. It's
Yeah, I'm
not
gonna
much.
move mine on Facebook to I said I was gonna do it at the beginning of the year, but I haven't yet. I want to move it to $5 because I would prefer everyone go find me on Locals, or
Yeah.
Substack is another good one because they're independent from these social media rat races or popularity contests, the algorithm contest, all of those different like hoops you jump through on social media. You get kind of bypass by having your own private zone somewhere else.
And I think
Really
my
nice.
Substack is, I think I've got my Substack at $8 a month. You can pay for a year and get a discount on that.
Nice.
But there's also the option to support with a little more if you feel like my
Sure.
content is worth more. Substack has all kinds of options for that.
Levels, yeah.
Yeah, so I like that. But it was interesting you mentioned about different products because I was looking around. I don't have it here. I think it's in the other room. But I actually specifically went into the dispensary because I have some very serious dental work that I need done still. And I told them, I said, recovering from root canal and things like that, I don't think I want to chew on stuff with sugar. So, the liquid extract, that
Right.
was the next thing was I got that, so I got a decent one that actually works pretty well for me. I've tested it, in advance to see how do I feel about this. So yeah, that is kind of a really big issue of you look at all the people who go into the dispensaries, it's such a cross section. I mean, I'm very ordinary looking. I don't I don't look like I have any particular culture, connection to this or anything. It's just I have pain. I want to relieve the
Right.
pain. But there's everything from seniors to young people to, and that being available, I think, is important because, like, I'm not the only person who didn't want to get into that whole system of you got to have a card. But there's also a lot of people who they're worried about that stigma. It does exist no matter what we do. And they're worried about being
Yeah.
seen a certain way. The dispensary that I go to, it's kind of funny, the history. The building used to be a strip club and it's been empty for a long time. But it was so ideal because the entrance door faces away from the street. So there's a little bit more privacy than being on this main drag and walking down the sidewalk. You park, you're away from the main street. You walk in, they already have this kind of foyer entry area with a
Yeah.
desk where you check in. I mean, the building was already perfect.
Hmm.
So it's kind of funny because I'm local. I know what it used to be. It's like,
You're like,
and I'm like,
I'm not
"Oh,
sitting down.
you
No
know?"
thanks. Won't be here that long.
And I didn't know what to expect because, it was kind of new for me. It was like, Jim's all, I got a recommendation from my friend. We'll go in there and see what they've got. And they were all very nice. The place is very well lighted. It's very open format, and, the floor plan, and it's, you know, I think people expect it to be, I know what my brother thinks it would be, you know,
Right.
he's all
I've done a
the
couple of
windows are
reviews for
blocked off. I'm all,
inside.
that's legalities. You can't look in for a
Right.
reason.
And that's what
But
they
it's not
like. You
dark
don't
as
know what's it look like in there. Well, I've done a couple reviews for inside of dispensaries just for that reason alone, to show people like, yeah, it's just like a little sales floor. They've got some displays, and um, some of them don't want to let you take pictures, but most of them I've
yeah.
been able to. Uh,
Well, I have a friend in New Jersey who opened one last year. That was kind of a tragic situation, in fact. I'll tell you this real quick. So we lost our location for the annual speed bag gathering, and this was heartbreaking. The guy who had the gym that we could keep our whole platform set up in the corner all year. He's part of the community. His gym, he helps the local community there by he never locked the doors. I mean, you
mm,
wouldn't think in New Jersey you could do that, but people respect the man. He's a businessman and he helps the community and he just trusts people. And it was great. It's like, oh, shoot, I forgot something over there. I'll run over. The door's not locked. You can get in. Well, he was struggling financially, though, because what's popular? LA Fitness and all the fancy equipment, right?
right.
So he opened a dispensary to support the gym. The people who owned the building jacked his rent sky high because they didn't want his drug money. And
Right.
they kicked him out and he had to close the gym.
That was the reason, but they probably thought he was going to make all this. Like, probably immediately thought he was going to be making more money. So let's raise the price, or
No, they
maybe.
flat did not want his money because it was coming from the dispensary.
Oh, so they really priced him out like all the way. Yeah.
Intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
They ended up, and I mean that man, he's got the dispensary, he can take care of himself, but I mean it was heartbreaking for all of us, but especially for him, the years that he spent building that. And it was an old school gym with iron like what I have, and
Mm-hmm.
there was no elevator, the floors were wood, you walked up steps to get upstairs. It was an old school gym and now it's gone. If
That's
somebody
funny. I
wants
don't think I've
blood,
ever seen an elevator at a gym, but that seems like a antithetical thing to
I
have at
know,
it.
right? But for somebody who's disabled,
Yeah, that's
but
true. Okay. Okay, I'll give you
I
that
managed to
one.
get up the stairs because I wanted to, be there and participate. I managed it. It was hard at the time, the first time I went. But this is the thing I'm saying about the stigma. That's got to stop. This
Mm.
poor man is a pillar of the community, has this beautiful business, and they shut him down because of that stigma, that hatred. So
Using
that
technicalities.
I
Yeah.
want to dispel, because look at me, I'm a normal person, you know, I'm an average housewife, for lack of a better word, you know, there's nothing strange about me, I'm a homeowner, I'm a taxpayer, I keep my stuff in order, I pay my bills. But it happens that I live with pain that's very debilitating and I need to be able to function. So yeah, that stigma needs to end. Yeah.
So Awaken says he's guessing your brother is one of those uppity Christian types. Well, whether he is or not, that reminds me of
But he's not.
Host. Well, there you go. So even that the stigma goes deeper than religion, I think. But I saw someone that was a fairly large account or bigger than mine posting about how, you might know this person. She finally stopped using cannabis. She'd been wrestling with it, and she talked to her pastor, and her pastor explained some things, and finally she made a decision. And she's so grateful. And I'm like, look, I had a pastor that gave me my first two cannabis seeds to grow. So we can't go off of what anyone else tells us to do, whether that's a religious figure or not. You have your own relationship with God, pray on it yourself, decide on things yourself. But don't go and be like, just because my pastor told me to do this, or just because he gave me seeds, I shouldn't be necessarily. I wrestled with it, even though he would tell me like, oh, it's a plant, it's God's herb, this and that. It's it's good. There's like speaking in a way that makes it sound like there's no downside to it. You know what I mean? And so I wrestled with that because I know there are some downsides. Having to using too much. There's a moderation issue. There's lungs issues sometimes. So I know there are downsides to it. So that got me a little bit. I'm like, look, I'm not against it, obviously, but I also can feel it's almost like some people that drink the Kool-Aid kind of. They're like all in. No, this is for every person, everywhere, all the time, kind of a feeling, that they give you. And I knew that wasn't right either. That's sort of opposite of it. But
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, I saw that post
Well,
and I'm like, I don't know.
also it was, I mean, like for anybody who wasn't here in the beginning when I was, from the start when I was talking about my brother's negative experiences, that's crucial to understand. It's it's legal recreationally in California, but you're not supposed to go smoking on the sidewalk. And there's legitimate reasons for that, no matter how you feel about it personally.
Right,
I know people, and I have people in my family who are actually allergic. I know people that it will shut them down. They can't breathe. So, no, you don't have a right to just go blow it wherever. You could kill someone. Let's take that very seriously. I
right,
say that as someone who uses this stuff. You can't put someone at risk of dying. You can't say, well, if you're at risk of dying, you should just stay home. Hello, I'm one of those people. Like, you make me sick with something, then I could end up in the hospital very easily, but I got to live my life. I shouldn't be expected to stay inside. Neither should someone with an allergy. So just be respectful. Again,
right,
so my brother's experience of having people expose him to stuff when he didn't want it, or come out of a shop and try to get him to come into a shop, which is illegal, that is the negative reinforcement that he's had, that the person who was saying that may have missed that earlier. So,
right,
in order for us to knock down stigma, we also have to take personal responsibility for the way that we present things to other people. And I take that very seriously. I have to deal with that every single day with my advocacy and awareness work in talking to people. I'm very blunt. I'm the no excuses girl.
But
I
is they
tell people you
blunt?
gotta take
Oh,
that
sorry.
bullet. Not that kind, you know. Brash, let's say it that way. So, I'm the person who will be like, I don't want to hear your excuses. Get up and move. I'm that person. And that to a lot of people is abrasive, especially when they're living with disability and pain. I get
Yeah,
it. I know, because it used to piss me off too. But I'm on the other side of that now, and I'm telling you, there's a way to get there. But you got to be able to deal with that I'm rough around the edges personality about me to get to the point where it's like, oh, she does have some answers. And so I can easily translate that, the way that I handle talking to people about chronic illness and catastrophic illness, into this other thing. Yeah, you can be, this is what I believe and this is what I'm going to stand for. You can do that, but also at the same time not be off-putting to other people. There's a way to present. So if you see that somebody has had a negative experience and they're reacting to it, dial it back. You don't have to push it on them. Just say, you know what? I understand your feelings. It's your feelings. We're good.
oh man, that's how it was with my mom. I didn't finish that story from earlier. She is now using the pain cream because of
Uh,
all of her different pains and stuff. And it's like she found that years of listening to the doctors doesn't necessarily get you where it doesn't necessarily progress. It just means that you're doing what you're told.
yeah.
And she's had arthritis, carpal tunnel, and tennis elbow in both arms. She was a CNA for over 30 years,
Yeah.
lifting people that were too big without the help that she needed, all those sort of stories, the horror stories, CNAs. I wouldn't wish that on anyone, but I kept talking to her. I'm like, Mom, you know, this pain cream, I'll shout it out. Drizzle Dab is one of my Drizzle Dab pain cream is one of my sponsors, drizzledab.com. Use code WTIF15 for discount. But his pain cream is like is pretty famous in my area. Anyone in this community kind of, oh yeah, I know that, because he does a lot of sponsoring, but he also, people go back for just that product because it's so good. And so I got her some of that, and she really likes it. She hasn't used it as often as she thought she would need to. I was going to get her some more, but she still has some left, and it's like, okay, good.
Yeah.
And
You don't need
she's
much.
come full
Topical
circle.
stuff that's good quality, it lasts. That's why I say that one Green Roads one that I bought, I've still got a little bit in it that I've been using that one for about a year. You know, so I mean, the cost is like the initial outlay is like, ouch, but then you realize I'm not using a lot.
Yeah, I slowly but surely brought her over. She's probably not like down to just watch me take bong hits or anything, but she understands there's nuance there. And this is the thing about this. I've explained this before. Seems like a good time to do it. This whole apparatus here, this is not to look cool. Okay, it might look cool, and some people do have these, and like they rock it. Like, look how cool my bong is, and that's great. That's fine. There are pieces that are thousands of dollars, hand blown, and all of this stuff. This thing was made by a machine. It's like $100. People compliment me on it all the time. Like, bro, this is just a cheap piece of Chinese glass. It's not. But the reason that I have it is because of the water filtration and the fact that a vapor is what I'm smoking, which is not a smoke, it's a vapor. Instead of so for instance, I probably look much more sophisticated with this little guy, with this little Sherlock Holmes pipe, right? Oh, well, hello, yeah. But this is infinitely less healthy for you than smoking out of this piece with the water filtration. And those people outside of cannabis don't understand that. Like this is way more off-putting. Watching someone hitting a bong or whatever, it's way more off-putting to people, even though it's actually a much healthier or more filtered and cleaner way to intake the medicine. It's kind of funny that way. Although I don't know, in the future you might see people like injecting cannabis. I don't know. That would be weird, right? Like I don't know if that's a thing yet, but there are some interesting inventions out there. They've got nasal spray now. I think there's an eye drop. That might not be right. Maybe it's just the nasal spray. Oh, there's a breath spray.
Yeah.
There's a breath spray you can spray under your tongue. So there's all these different sort of like products now coming out, which is different. There's a patch. I used a patch one time, CBN, I think it was, to sleep. But anyway, yeah, fun. Great conversation, Tala. I think we've hit it. I think we've hit the ups and the downs. A lot of awesome commenters out there. We met some new friends even. Shouts out to the Rumblers. Yeah, we're live on Rumble, on X, on Kick, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook right now. So I guess I should have told you that before. But yeah, we out there. And I think this conversation is going to be received well. And if you guys out there haven't checked out the rest of it, go check it out. We're about 2 hours and 20 minutes in now. So I think we went like there was no lull in the conversation. So I think it was great. It was great. So you guys go check it out. Let me know what you think, and follow Tala. If you haven't gone over to X, it's free. Go over there, sign up, just to have an alternative, just to be like a little more worldly inside the internet. I like to say my community is not a Facebook community. It's not a platform community. It's an internet community. And Elon Musk, if you don't start help fixing this video stuff, because guess what? Look, they don't want you in there talking about you being on other platforms, especially like Facebook, right? But yet Elon is trying to get us to Mars. Why? Because he says we're much more likely to survive as a species if we become interplanetary and we can be on multiple planets, right? Well, the same exact thing applies on the internet. You are much more likely to get nuked if you just stay on one platform, get big, someone hates you, they start they start a reporting train on you or whatever it is, and then boom, you're nuked. You got to start a new thing. People do it on Instagram all the time. Oh, I had to start a new Instagram. I had to start a new. I'm like, why do you keep going through that? Like, just work on everywhere. If Facebook ever blocks me or restricts me, good. I got more time to spend. I've got like a bunch of places I can go play with. So like, just do it.
Diversify.
Exactly. Easter's
Yeah,
coming up.
there's a new app that is launching in I believe April that I'm getting in on the beta for that. And it's like ground level. I've never been able to do that. This is a first for me, so I'm really excited about it. But you can find me across the major platforms by the same name, Tala_no excuses. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Tala, no excuses. Yeah, I would prop up Rumble a little more, but Rumble has gotten on my nerves actually. It's a long story, but I have more followers there now than I ever have, even though it's growing very slowly. But my reach is lower than it's ever been. Like there was a clear drop off, and I'm like, is it cannabis? What is it? Because there's supposed to be freedom of speech over there. They're a Canadian company originally, and which is legal cannabis there. And so like I don't get it, right? And so I've been talking to the Rumble staff on X in the messages. They messaged me, oh, no problem. They were back and forth. Hey, here's the email. Email this. Send this email, and if they don't get back to you, get back to us. If they don't respond, get back to us, right? Well, I got back to them because I never got a response, and then now they just got me on ghost. Like they won't respond to me at all. They just like left me.
I haven't logged in there in a long time.
I pay them $10 a month to have their like a check mark, basically effectively their check mark version over their business class.
They can't talk to you.
They can't respond to me. Like just give me some answers, you guys. And so I've been I'll be honest, I poke a little too hard sometimes, no pun intended. But I go and I'll reply on Chris Pavlovsky's comment or post on X. He's the owner of Rumble, or the creator of Rumble, and I'll comment on there. Yeah, that sounds great. He says something like, "This is being added to Rumble." I'm like, "Hey, that's awesome, Chris. If only I could just get a reply back from the people that said to." I just kind of get this sarcastic.
That's not too hard. That's totally called for, in my opinion.
I'm being very. I'm very. What is it? Passive aggressive. Passive aggressive.
Sarcastic, passive aggressive. Yeah. I do all of that, so I'm not mad.
Yeah, X kind of effed Rumble a little bit. Yeah, I wish they would have gotten together. That would have been good. But anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. But you guys, thanks again. Hit that like button if you haven't yet. Follow the channel, and I will have to have you back on, Tala. And obviously, I know you're busy on Thursdays, but the panel's open every Thursday, even for a few minutes if you get time. It's not something that you have to stick around the whole night. Tomorrow night, we're going to be doing a current events episode. We do once a month, usually the third Thursday of the month. I like to do a current events where we just kind of look at what's going on in the world and what's each other, like what's happening this week and in your life. And so we invite everybody to come back for that tomorrow night, 8:00 Central Time. And what time is your space tomorrow? Is it tomorrow?
I think he might have said 3 p.m., but I'm on Pacific, of course. I think
so
sometimes it
2 or 3
changes.
PM,
He hasn't scheduled it yet.
Okay, well, go follow Tala, and you guys will be able to find when that pops up, and hit that notification bell and all the blah 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 stuff. And it's been a great talking to you, Tala. Remember, this is all well and good, but the underlying reason for this conversation is to have them. I hate the term, but my whole shtick is self-sustainability. Well, it means more than just growing plants. Us trying to figure out what works for us medically and to keep us more functioning, that is self-sustainability in the same
We just lost your audio. I just lost your audio. I don't know what happened there.
on too long, and my beard mic has died, so I have to plug up the second beard mic. Now we have the second beard mic, and
now Greg shows up.
Yes, that's what I was about to say, and my audio got cut off. Like, oh, now he shows up. What the heck? Wow,
They
grow
left
beef.
us
Yeah.
unsupervised for over 2 hours.
Well, I saw people pop in on X that I'd never even seen in my chat before I saw you today. You know, Dr. Christina, I think her name was. Yeah, she had popped in to say hi for a second there. Dead battery. Oh yeah. You know, this happened the other day.
Battery?
He was there in the beginning. Well, okay.
Oh,
We'll give you the benefit of the doubt. I wasn't reading any comments for the first few minutes, so I apologize to those that it's a weird balance being live while trying to have a conversation because yes, I want to acknowledge the commenters, but also it's hard, you know, I can't just read every comment while we're in the middle. So anyway, I'm trying to outro here, Greg. Just hit the like button, darn it, and reshare, repost, whatever, and you watch the show. I mean, you might enjoy the conversation. I learned a lot about Tala, and I think it was a pretty good one. I really like this. So we'll do it again sometime. Go follow her, guys. Tala_no excuses. Remember, everybody's got to eat. Good night.
Yeah, this is for my green thumbs in the game. Wailing the indoor farmer. Check my name. Sustainability, we about to reclaim. This is how we do it, keep it in the frame. I'm wailing the farmer, the indoor king. Living off the grid, what the city can't bring. Got my hydro setup, my LED lights. Growing all my greens, all through the night. Self-sustain, that's the mission. Growing my own, I'm not missing. Indoor farming, the hustle.